There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, either do I.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Down here really was to kind of get that free t-shirt. I'm kind of fucking sad, dude. I can't lie.
Oh man,
I cannot lie. I really wanted that free fucking t-shirt.
It's like when you go to a show of like a friend of yours, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll guest list you." And you're like, "Sick, perfect." And you go and you're like, "Yeah, I'm on the guest list," and they just like don't find your name. And you're like, "No, they said I'd be on the guest list." They're like, "Well, your name's not on here, bro. Like, I don't have to tell you. You have to pay." Like, fuck.
Yeah, that shit fucking sucks. I had one kind of like that, and I felt really bad because I had a friend who was playing a show like with a headliner, and the headliner, I was buddies with his ex-manager. So originally I told my friend, because she was opening for him, like, "Oh, I'll buy a ticket from you. Like, go ahead and save a ticket. Like, I'll buy it." And then like 8 hours before I went, my buddy, I was hanging out with him, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just get you on the guest list." So I'm like, well, fuck. I mean, the ticket I think was $20 or $30, and again, I'm cheap and I like free shit. See, it goes back to just like the t-shirt. I wanted that free fucking ticket, and what do you know? Just like you're saying, I get up to the fucking ticket, and I give him my name, and I'm just not fucking on there. So I had to buy a ticket. So in the end, I ended up stiffing my friend and still having to buy a fucking ticket because my ass was not on the guest list. and I'm like, now I'm double the dick because I'm like, she probably would have appreciated. I don't know that it was a pay to play, but I mean, they were selling tickets, so I assume that had something to do with it. So I really did kind of feel like a dick, but I'm like, it wasn't a super cheap show. It was like $30. And I'm like, I mean, if you're going to put me on the guest list, like, I'm broke anyway. Like, let me save the $30. He did make up for it. He got me into the Lawrence Arms for free a couple months later, like to a sold out one. So that kind of made up for it, I guess. Yes, it did. I shouldn't say I guess.
When did you leave Minneapolis?
November, I was going to say of last year, but fuck, of 2019. I keep forgetting what year it is. So I've been gone now like a year and a half about, which is fucking insane.
Okay. Shit, okay. Because, like, so I think it was 2018. I had a birthday, like, whatever, and I actually drove to Minneapolis for a show that was happening on my birthday.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And it was Patent Pending, Set It Off, which I don't really care about, and Simple Plan.
Ooh, that's a fucking good show.
And the bass player for Patent Pending was like, "Hey, it's your birthday. We'll put you on the guest list." I'm like, "Sweet, awesome." And my roommate, she has helped them with merch, like manning the merch table when they play locally.
Mm-hmm.
So their vocalist was like, "Oh, we'll put her on the guest list too, whatever." So we get to the show, and I'm all like, kind of cool. It's my birthday. I feel good. I'm going to a free show, technically. She's on the guest list, but I'm not.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm standing there at the door while she's like waiting for me, and there's like a line behind me. I'm like, and I'm trying to like text the bass player of the band, being like, "Hey, you didn't guest list me. I'm not. I can't get in." And like, there's no response for like 15, 20 minutes. And I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck to do. And I'm just like standing outside this venue like an asshole, like on my phone, trying to get in contact with these dudes.
And on my fucking birthday.
Yeah, my roommate's like, "Yeah, I'll see you in there. Just let me know when you get in, and we'll find each other." I'm like, "God damn it."
That's dirty. That's dirty on her part. She knew your ass wasn't getting in.
I eventually got in, and it was at First Avenue. And
great venue.
Apparently, I don't know if this is, oh my God, I would love to go back. Like, apparently, if it's your birthday, like, they'll give you a little ticket to go to like a drink vendor for like a free whatever. And apparently, you can ask for any drink free that they offer to sell.
Oh shit!
I had a 40 ounce of Red Stripe in the crowd with a straw during Simple Plan.
Yes.
It was the weirdest fucking thing. I had this giant fucking red stripe in the crowd. Like, this is a glass bottle. I can easily throw this if I wanted to.
Damn, I'm happy you did it.
Yeah.
You know what's not funny, but is kind of going off of that? You just made me think of there's a video out there. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's probably from like 2008. Like, it's pretty old, but fucking Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco, they're playing like a festival, and he just takes a glass bottle to the head. And I haven't watched it in a while, but if I'm not mistaken, he just fucking like drops. Like, it's funny and it's not funny at the same time, but like he gets fucking wet, like right in the head. And also I think it adds to it too, because it's from like 2008. So think about what cameras looked like, like think about the quality of this video. So it's like a pixelated Brendan Urie fucking singing like I write sins, not tragedies, and a fucking bottle just clocks him right in the head. It is well worth going and checking out. You should go.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
I think it was big when it came out, but again, it's like that's like 13, 14 years ago. So like I'm not surprised it's not near and dear to your heart than 13 years.
Yeah.
You haven't like kept that in the fucking front of your head. So that makes sense. You know what? This shit is too good. I think we're just getting into the episode. I'm leaving.
Shit.
Not all of it, but I feel like this episode started when we started complaining about not being able to get in shows for free. That's how we begin episode 60 of the fucking Power Chord Hour with my buddy. And I think probably you've been on this show now more than anyone else, I would assume. Because me and you have done a couple solo ones. Me and Zach have done one or two by ourselves, but I think me and you have I think you have Zach beaten by one or two episodes is what I'm saying. And it is Kyle Steven. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fuck him. It's actually, I was thinking though, I never even told him we were doing this tonight, because it's kind of like off the cuff, like, yo, you just want to do this. But if later something happens in this where we need a voice, I shouldn't say a voice of reason and then say Zach, but if we need things are pretty fucked up if he's the voice of reason, and I say that with all the love in the world, as Zach is my buddy, but maybe later we'll call him without even him knowing what the fuck is going on, and I don't know, that doesn't matter. It is episode 60 with my boy fucking Kyle Steven. We're just kind of like, I mean, it's kind of bullshit. And like, originally I was just going to kind of do a solo episode this week. And I always feel like if someone else is on, it's always better and I enjoy it more. And I mean, look at the last time me and you did a solo one. I mean, we just shit all over crunk music for like 3 hours. So, I mean, I'm hoping we get at least the same quality content, if not even better tonight.
Yeah, that episode was a journey, and the fun thing about these is that since it's just it's you and I, we kind of ramble off of each other, and we just kind of feed off each other. So wherever it goes, it's gonna go.
But it is funny because we were texting this to each other, but like you're very good at steering the ship, and like I think you said something like, "Oh, I don't mean to be rude" or something like when I do it, and I'm like, dude, by no means feel like that's rude, because doing a show like this and getting so fucking sidetracked like we do, you would think it was me, the host, that would steer the ship, but if I'm not doing it, someone needs to, so we don't hit an iceberg. And it is good that you do that. You're good at that, which is something you need, because I do. It doesn't matter. I should be the person who halts that shit and goes, no, we got to stay on track. But I'm not that way. I am very much, let's just go down a rabbit hole and then never come back out, because I don't even know how we got here.
Dude, it's that YouTube, Google, Wikipedia, rabbit hole, man. You start on one thing, 20 minutes later, an hour later, you're on a completely different topic. You don't know how you got there. It was fun.
I used to love doing that in class, in my Excel accounting class. I remember I do that a lot, and you just randomly start looking at shit. And then my teacher came up the one day, and I was just looking up blood alcohol content and what you would have to blow to be considered legally dead. And she came up, and that's not accounting, and she wasn't happy at that. But I was just doing a fucking like a Wikipedia rabbit hole. I probably started on something educational, and then you somehow start going, I wonder how much I have to drink and, like blow into a breathalyzer test and then be considered legally dead.
Yeah. You know what's fun about that, though, is like not drinking that much alcohol, but
It's a lot.
No, like I used to do that way back in the day with like going on like Pure Volume and like MySpace bands.
Oh,
like,
hell
you'd
yeah.
start with like a band, and usually like back in the day, at least on like MySpace, you'd see like their top 8, and it's usually their label or a couple other bands that they're touring with at the time. And you just start clicking on band profiles, and eventually you land on like some like, weird punk rock band from Germany that no one's ever heard of, that's got like 1,000 friends or fans, and you're like, whoa, this is really cool. How did I get here? And it's the same thing. It's fun to check that kind of stuff out.
Well, this is why you're great at this, because already we got rabbit holes to go down. Because I have always said this. No one who people make fun of MySpace and shit. Obviously, at this point, it's the butt of the joke and everything. It's very much dead. But it's like no other social media, I think, has handled music as well as MySpace did. The way it was formatted, the way that you could go there and you could hear a band's music, see their tour dates, get their biography, kind of get a vibe off of them, like kind of figure out who they are all in this one page, was fucking perfect. Like now I feel like everything's so spread out where including like if I want to check out a band and I'm like, oh, like I've never heard them, but people tell me it's like if you go to their Instagram page, there's no guarantee there's music on there, which never makes sense to me. There's tons of bands. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. You go to their Instagram page, I get it's all pictures, but like even in the videos, there's no fucking music. And I'm like, well, I want to hear your band. That's kind of the point. Like you go same with really all of them. None of them are really set up for music. I mean, there's video. You can put a video on like Facebook. You can play that. But like MySpace had a fucking player on it. Like you go on there, you could check out music. Like I remember not even so much what you're talking about. Like I definitely did the wormhole thing, and you're right. And that was a great way to discover music. But the other thing is, if I would hear a band and I heard like one song from them, like nowadays, if I'm like, I want to hear more from that band, my first stop is YouTube. Whereas back then, fuck YouTube, my first place was MySpace. You go right to their page, and that's where you check out more songs. You go, you can go on their player, you go listen to everything they have on there. And hell, I mean, if it's good enough, it may become your profile song, if it's good enough stuff.
Yeah, it was, it was so neat back then with it was so accessible through their pages. Like, granted, most people are searching social media via their phone. So a lot of times if you land on a band page, there's kind of like tabs you kind of have to go through.
It was fucked up on a phone. It did not look good on a phone. I remember still like that, like kind of, I probably got an iPhone, I think in like 2010. So this was already, I mean, I think a lot of people jumped ship by then, but it was still kind of there. And I remember every now and then try going on there on my iPhone, and it was the biggest fucking mess. Like I don't think half of it would load. Like, I don't think you could even, maybe you could play the music. I don't know that it was even able, I don't know if it had the player or whatever. Like it was like really fucked.
Yeah, but like at least back then, because most people the internet was, as far as like mobile goes, like it was still like relatively new even then to like freely navigate the internet on your phone. So most people were just on their computers. And even comparing MySpace music like pages to like Facebook, everything was right there in front of your face via MySpace. Like the only things that you ever really had to truly click on would have been like the bulletins if they had like special announcements about something.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like everything was right there, like without having to really jump to another page or click a different link. Everything was pretty much ready for you. Where as far as Facebook goes, even nowadays, like you have multiple tabs you have to click on to like see their events or their about me or whatever.
It's fucked up.
And then the customization of it, like everyone like back in the day was using HTML code to like pimp out their MySpace profiles, and bands were the same way. And if you were on like a label or you knew someone, you were able to get like like really rad graphics and really rad like layouts for your page.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it was like, it would catch your eye. So like, even if you landed on a band that you never heard of, sometimes even if they had just a really cool looking profile, that would even help you, you know, at least decipher like, oh, this band has this type of look. Look at their link colors and the text font and this and that. Where on Facebook now, it's just kind of bland and boring, but like it was different worlds back then. MySpace was neon back then.
Yeah. Oh, God damn. Yeah. You're absolutely right about the neon. I think I may have even, well, no, that's probably not true. I'm not going to throw myself under the bus like that. I don't think I did have neon. I've always been a real one. I'm not fucking, I'm not, that's no Joser shit here. My page was, anti-neon, but,
I mainly rocked hot pink and like a teal turquoise just because those were like the Blink colors.
No, I had those.
So, like,
I had tons of the untitled, self-titled era shit. That's why at first, okay, now are you considering that neon? Because that is it. That I'm being completely honest here. When I originally was gonna say neon, that's what I was thinking of, was when I had Blink shit from that era, like the pink and the turquoise. And for a second, I kind of went, so like that was the only, and that's why I hesitated at first, because literally I was thinking of that. I'm like, that would be the only neon I had on there. Because I was not into the fucking pop punk and shit that was coming out at that time.
Yeah, it was literally like, when I mean neon in this case, it was just like for me, like on my MySpace profile, it's just the links and anything you can click on. Like it was a bright color with like a black background, so it really popped.
Don't you think the internet was like more fun back then with like maybe we're just and I guess you haven't answered yet, so maybe you're not. Maybe I'm just the old jaded fuck, but like having like instant messenger and MySpace and basically like that's it. Like, I mean, I know like Facebook did technically exist in like 2007 and shit, but like I don't know anyone who was really on it. Like when it was just like instant messenger and MySpace, I liked that so much more. And then you'd have message boards on websites, but like I feel like the internet was more fun before everyone's parents and shit were on it. Because like you know what I mean? Like everyone's now on the internet, and there was a very beautiful time in like the mid 2000s, maybe up to 2010, somewhere around there, before everyone's grandparents and shit like figured out, like had Facebook pages and shit. It was just everyone kind of like under 35 or something. Or I mean, if you're more tech savvy and shit and you were older, you'd be on there. But it was like, I feel like it was like a younger crowd, very music driven, like, you know, again, like I think a fucking great time for music, like you were talking about, great way to discover bands and shit, you know, kind of early days of YouTube as well. Like, I mean, I don't think that was utilized as well as a platform as like MySpace was, but I don't know, maybe I'm just being nostalgic, but I think the internet was more fun back then.
No, I can totally agree. Like I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit with it, you know, like the age group that was on the internet primarily. I'm being ageist
within here.
Like,
and that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm being completely honest. I'm being fucking ageist. Y'all old folks weren't online yet. Like it wasn't.
It was a different time. It was a completely different time, and like technology at that point was going so fast that like I remember like, okay, like, you know, between like 2000, like say 2004 to 2008, like it was all MySpace, and like every freaking kid had one. And what was MySpace primarily used for? Connecting with friends and listening to music. At least that's how I used it.
That's exactly how I did.
So I wasn't on MySpace looking for my uncle, you know, John, you know, that I haven't seen in years. You know, that wasn't what we were really using the internet and MySpace for at the time. It was really, at least as far as people I knew, it was just kind of hanging out with your friends digitally and then listening to music. And once Facebook came along, because it was around back before then, but it was just available to college students. My old boss, who's, I don't want to say much older, but he's older than I am, like he had it like way before it was available to the public. So they had Facebook just for like college students, and that's how college students would like talk to each other and like meet up for study groups and shit like that. And once Facebook became like available to just everyone, like that's when I started seeing like, oh, my friend's mom is on Facebook. Okay. Didn't really think of it much at the time, but as like everything kind of shifted over, like MySpace was still there for music because the bands really didn't jump over yet. But like personal profile pages were just like left abandoned forever.
You
freeze in time.
You have so many things stirring up in my head right now that I want to talk about. So like for one, it's so funny. You just mentioned that how like your fucking Uncle Jerry isn't on MySpace. You're not like looking for him. A couple of things about that. For one, I remember people who did have family on there. Like I remember I had one friend who I think like his uncle would leave fucking comments on his page and stuff. That was the lamest shit. Like I probably made fun of him for it. Like I probably cyberbullied the guy for it. Like you can't, like back then, like that was lame shit. Like now, I mean, who cares? Your uncle fucking write happy birthday on your Facebook page and no one cares. But like back then, that'd be lame as hell if your family was on there. And actually, it always started shit because then, like, it would be like your aunt would, not me, I didn't fucking have, besides, like, my cousins maybe, like, I didn't have my fucking family on MySpace. Because people that I also knew who had that, who did have, like, older relatives who were on there, were fucking doing shit like, oh, your kid's posting this or that. And it's like, who gives a shit? But also, the other thing I want to bring up, and you like, it was perfect. You said something like, I can't remember exactly what you said, but basically like your friend's mom pops up like on Facebook or whatever. I would never in a million years, like I have a bunch of my friends' mothers on Facebook as friends. And you're right. If I think back to MySpace, not in a million fucking years would I have like one of my friends' mom is one of my friends on MySpace. You're so right. Like you are so right about that. That is such a good example of what I'm talking about how the internet changed. Like just in that nutshell, in 2005, you would not add your friend's mom on social media. I get, unless you were trying to get with her, I guess. This is the only thing I could think of. But like, you're not going to add her for like any other reason.
Yeah, like, because let's be real, like, a mass majority of MySpace users back in the day were all just trying to get MySpace popular. Like, you had friends, yeah, you had the bands that you listened to, whatever, but, like, everyone was trying to post the cool bulletin or the cool profile picture, like, there was so many, like, weird, like MySpace celebrities, like Jeffree Star, who's like one like very controversial person now, but like with like makeup and like people whatever. But
which is crazy to me because I still think of MySpace.
Think of MySpace.
Yeah, that's my first thought.
That's my first thought too. Where like now years later,
fucking medic droid,
they've built such an empire for themselves. Like that's like unless you're our age, you don't think of MySpace. You're gonna think of makeup or their online status or whatever it is that they're going through. Like it was such a different time, and like it's funny because I felt like at least anyone that's like in like their late 20s to like mid 30s right now, we evolved with social media. So back then, like for me specifically, I was in like a very high school mindset. So it was all about being cool and like listening to the coolest stuff or like finding cool bands or finding cool clothing companies to support. And then like once like the years went on and Facebook took over, it was like we're entering adulthood and everyone's the same. Every profile is the same. You can't be unique. You have to grow up and just live life like a regular person. There's no need to be cool anymore. It's all about just, following the path. And that's how I took social media for a while. Like once Facebook became a thing, I'm like, I got to grow up now because Facebook's boring.
That's a good fucking analogy.
I was really heavy on Twitter for a long time. Like I would like surf Twitter way before Facebook.
I think that's where we met.
Yeah, that's where we met.
Fucking Twitter buddies.
And what's I'm going to kind of steer the ship a little bit here because I kind of
steer away, brother.
It was with when it came to like, being on Pure Volume, YouTube, MySpace, finding bands or like being told about bands that, you know, everyone was listening to, like, you know, that's how you were, you know, informed of what was cool and this and that. And, you know, some of us missed the train on some of these bands, whether we didn't like them at the time or, you know, it just wasn't our scene. It wasn't our genre, you know, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I brought this up to you, you know, a while back that every other Saturday on my work days,
Yeah.
I've been listening to different records from bands that I know, but never really gave the light of day to listen to, like, you know, a particular album or a particular band for whatever reason. And I'm getting here so you can take control of this for a second, because I know there was something that you wanted to know.
Oh, okay. Well, there are a couple things. For one, I mean, I love that you do this. For one, I wanted to talk about a little shit talking, as I always like doing, and talk about maybe some of the albums that you thought were extremely overrated, right? Because you're listening to albums that were like pretty big, like ones that people would be surprised that you hadn't heard.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So like what have you? Now, also, I know we were also talking about the other thing with the one specific album, but or actually, should we lead off with that? And you know what I'm talking
Either
about
way.
from the text.
Yes. So yeah, kind of quick repeat. You know, I listen to a new album every other Saturday because I'm alone at work for the most part. I can just kind of vibe out on whatever. And so I listen to albums and bands that I don't, you know, really touch on. And I was so embarrassed to text you today about this.
Oh no.
Because they've been, you know, I think they've been hinted at a couple of times through like a couple episodes, and you actually talked about them on your last episode with your second album.
Oh shit. Uh-oh.
And that's what jarred my memory, that I never really gave this album a shot.
Are you gonna say some Joser shit?
I might say some Joser shit. I might have to turn in my sheriff's badge of punk rockness.
Is there any way I can guess, or would you rather tell me? Because I have a feeling. I think I know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I know.
I'll let you take one guess.
Okay.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, that's good. I'd be an asshole. I just sit here and guess. I think of every band I brought up and just ask you all of them. Is it the Get Up Kids?
It is not the Get Up Kids.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, great band. I've definitely listened to them. I would need to revisit them because it's been a while. But I did listen to the Get Up Kids a little bit. But this is so embarrassing to say, at least as far how I feel about it. I just listened to Through Being Cool by Saves the Day.
Oh, shit. You've never really? God damn.
And
that is surprising.
I know. Exactly. And the reason why, and this is why I'm trying to defend myself a little bit on this, is because when I first heard Saves the Day, in my opinion, the song that introduced me to them via a friend was not a good song. And I tried listening to it today after listening to this record, and I was like, yeah, that's still not a good song. And it's actually one of their hits. It's At Your Funeral.
Really? You don't like that? Do you not like his voice at that point?
I think so when I heard the song initially, you know, when I heard it probably way later than like when that album actually came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I probably heard that song roughly, I'll say between like 04 and 06.
Okay, yeah, that was probably like almost 5 years after it came out. Yeah,
and so that song, at least at the time, it just reminded me of kind of like the slow, kind of whiny, acoustic emo stuff, kind of like the Dashboard Confessionals, the Death Cab for Cuties, those type of bands.
That's fair enough.
That's what that song kind of reminded me of, and I wasn't super huge on either one of those artists, so hearing that song just didn't do anything for me. And an old buddy of mine probably tried playing me some songs off of Through Being Cool, but I don't know if you're like me. As soon as you're uninterested in something, it's hard for anything to grab your attention about it. So even if he was playing it, I probably was ignoring whatever he'd say about it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, cool. No big deal. Whatever.
No, I agree with that 100%.
So I went all these years without listening to that album. So I finally visited it today, and holy hell, that is such a great record.
Through Being Cool? That is like a fucking, like, I was just talking a few weeks ago with Joey Cobra, who's in here, and it's like, it's my fucking ritual. Like, fucking, it's midnight, 1 a.m., and I'm leaving Cleveland and, like, driving back home. I got 3 states to drive back. I just blast that motherfucker with the windows down the fucking, and it just, it's a ritual. Like, that record is just made for going like 70 miles an hour or faster sometimes down the fucking interstate at night, just blasting that fucking record. Like, that's what it's made for. It's such an amazing, and it doesn't waste any fucking time. It's so short. Like, it's such a short record. It comes in like such a quick burst so you can listen to the whole thing. Like, I think I brought that up when I was talking about it, but like, I love albums that are like that, where it's like, they're short and sweet. Like, it's a good record, but it's also like, I don't know, 30 minutes long or something. Like, they don't fuck around. You know, there's not a lot of filler in there.
It's funny because I listened to that album, and then I went and was like, let me listen to the very first album. You know,
what were your thoughts on that? I would be interested in hearing this.
It was all right. I can see where they were going. You know, obviously now, like, hindsight, and you know, I saw like. I saw that there was potential there on that first album, but I didn't really feel it as much. And then the second album, Through Being Cool, it's funny, after I listened to the first album, I went back and re-listened to Through Being Cool. So I listened to it twice today.
It's a great record. And actually, I think you're right. Cause I think I like, that's the whole reason I love Through Being Cool, is I go, can't slow down. Like, and I love like Lifetime and bands that they sound like on that record. So I go, I like it kind of like the same way that I like old Goo Goo Dolls. It sounds just like the Replacements and Husker Du. Like, I like that. Some people don't like it because it's like, oh, they just sound like they're ripping it off. But I'm like, maybe they are, but they do a good job at it. And it's the same thing with that first Saves the Day record. I go, yeah, some of these songs sound straight up like Lifetime, but I'm like, but I really like Lifetime, and they do a really good job at sounding like Lifetime. But as far as being like the band that's so beloved today, yeah, I think I think Through Being Cool is like the gold standard. Which, it's funny, like with Stay What You Are, I totally get why you would like one and not the other, because I think they are very different. I love them both. I actually have trouble really figuring. I probably like Through Being Cool more, but I jump back and forth with that and Stay What You Are. But Stay What You Are, I think, was a drastic change. What I will say to you, to be honest, and this is coming from someone who loves Saves the Day, so far what you've told me with your evaluation, I would say don't waste your time listening to any of their other records. I don't think you're going to like anything after Through Being Cool. Go check out.
Interesting. Okay.
You have to hear the B-side. They do have a B-sides record that they put out, and there's 2 songs. And actually, I have and we actually, I won't say that because I want to get back to your whole album thing. But there's 2 B-sides, a Dragon D flat and Sell All My Old Clothes, I'm Off to Heaven. And those 2 songs, they're like Alkaline Trio level of like the B-sides, where it's like, this B-side's so fucking good that like everyone wants to hear it. It's like that. Like, they have to play it live. They have to play both of those live constantly because people love them. And they're just on a comp. They were like on a Vagrant Records comp. And they're fucking amazing. So those 2 songs you have to hear. You'll love those songs because they're in between. I think they were recorded in between Through Being Cool and Stay What You Are. But outside of that, and again, I love Saves the Day and I love later era stuff. But if you don't like where they're going with Stay What You Are, you are not gonna like the album, like say Daybreak, where they have like 10-minute songs and different shit like that. And Chris's voice also. Like, is that another thing? Did you care for Chris's voice on Stay What You Are? Or did you not like as it gets higher?
Well, see, like I didn't get to Stay What You Are. Like, I didn't even get to that. Like,
Oh, you
I
didn't
only
listen to the
heard
rest
at
of
your
it.
funeral.
Okay. Well, you won't like
Yeah.
the rest of the album. If you don't like that song, you're not going to like the rest of that record.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it was just one of those things at that time. Like, at that time in my life, when that song came out, or well, when I heard it, it reminded me of all these other little kind of, slow indie emo artists. And it, like, yeah, some of that stuff was cool, but like, it just wasn't my thing.
I can get that.
And so therefore, like, I hear that song as the introduction to them for me. And I knew of the name of the band. And actually, it's funny, the album cover for Through Being Cool, even though I didn't know it was them at the time, I just saw the album cover probably via MySpace. And my old band, very first band, 20 Below Zero, our like pure volume profile page was the three of us on a couch, kind of around each other. And I don't want to say I thought of it by any means, but I was like, hey, we're on a couch. Like, I saw that one picture on MySpace. Like, that was cool. Didn't really think much of it. I didn't know it was really Saves the Day. I just saw, like, probably on someone's profile. I'm like, oh, that looks cool.
That just looks sweet. I'm just going to jack this shit.
We took the picture. I had a bag of Cheetos in the picture, and I'm, like, staring off, like, at the completely, like, wrong direction of the camera. And we put it up on our profile, and, like, they decided that we wanted to take it down because, like, oh, if we have Cheetos in the picture, we might get sued by them. So we have to take them out.
Don't you want to, though? Isn't that one of those things where it's like, hell, that's like good fucking, like, I think that would help your band if you got sued by Cheetos. How funny would it be?
Maybe, but what
if Cheetos and Saves the Day got together and they both sued? They joint sued you.
I was way too young for a lawsuit at that time.
Doesn't matter, dude. Doesn't matter.
I was like, I was underage. I was like a freshman.
They'll sue your fucking dick off, dude. Nah, Saves the Day and Cheetos are coming. The Frito-Lay and Saves the Day are coming for your ass.
Oh, no. It's the collab we never knew we wanted until now.
Is it?
Saves the Lay.
Oh, my God. Saves the Lays. Or Saves the Lay. What's better? What sounds better? Saves the Lay or Saves the Lays?
Fritos today. Cheetos today.
You're pushing it there. I'll be honest.
I mean, we already pushed it by convincing there should be a collab.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
They should do a split.
They'll do a split 7-inch. I do have to shout out. I say this like you would just know this off the top of your head, but I believe Doritos are owned by the Frito-Lay company. And if that's true,
so, yeah.
Shout out to them because I did win Blink-182 tickets once from a bag of Doritos. So shout out to Frito-Lay for sending me and my cousin to see Blink-182. And also making sure...
not sponsored.
Yeah, this is not sponsored. And funny enough, they called me to let me know while driving on my way to see Blink-182 a couple weeks prior.
Oh, wow.
We were going to Pittsburgh with my mom and some friends, and we were driving to Pittsburgh to see him, and fucking Doritos calls and goes, yo, you win 2 tickets to the Buffalo show in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah, brother. And yeah, they made sure to let me know they would not give me transportation. I just got tickets. But fuck yeah, shout out to Doritos. And I kept that bag. I don't think I have that bag anymore because now I just like to I don't like owning a lot of shit, so more than likely they've been thrown out through the years, but I did hold on to that bag for years. And they looked disgusting because you had to buy like this was, I don't know if you remember this, like right when they reunited, Doritos did this like Doritos late night thing, and if you bought this bag, this disgusting looking, see now you know it's not a sponsorship, so I'm talking about how fucking gross these chips looked. And, I mean, for one, I don't eat meat, so I couldn't eat them, so full disclosure on that. The big reason I didn't eat them was that, but they also looked like they'd smell like a fucking high school gym locker. They just, like, it was like a beef fucking taco flavor like Dorito, but like you bought them, and if you scan the back of it, you got this shitty little virtual video of Blink-182. You remember this? You could either do that or it was Bubba. I don't think it was Bubba Sparks. Was it Bubba Sparks? Because I know they did a tour. No, I think I'm fusing that in the $1 bill tour that they did. I think they did that with Bubba Sparks. Someone else.
Yeah, they did.
There's like a hip hop artist. You could either watch Blink, and they did the rock show, and I think maybe I Miss You, and it was really pixelated. This was like 2009. This goes back to like the video thing. Like, this is not HD. This is really shitty quality, and they're like playing on like a green, like in front of a green screen. But
it was. I remember it vividly because it was supposed. It almost looked like It was like right when people were talking about like the Tupac hologram and
actually
like
they were pioneers in that way.
So they did like the virtual concert, and they had 2 songs and they weren't synced properly.
Oh my God, I believe. Could you even tell though? Because I haven't watched in probably a decade, but I think I recall it being so pixelated. I don't even know that I would be able to tell that it was synced or not.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was not synced right. And I did actually, probably within the last month, it popped up on like my YouTube because I think I was just looking up Blink-182 videos and I went down like a Blink rabbit hole, and that video popped up and it was out of sync. Now maybe the uploader just didn't upload it right with the audio and the video, but it was out of sync for sure.
No, that's not surprising. Now, did you watch it that way, or were you an OG with this too? Did you see it?
I was an OG. I was definitely an OG, but like it was one of those.
I was about to call you a Joser. I was about to throw a Joser at you just to be a dick.
Boo.
Yeah, really, you didn't deserve it. I was just going to do it to be an asshole. But I can't now.
But I'm doing this again. See, now it's going to be on the top of my head now every time I do this.
Oh no!
You brought up about bands that you list, like you finally listened to them and like it was way overhyped or like.
I was about to ask you this. Yeah, I wanted to get into this. Do some shit talking.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to ask you the albums that you enjoyed. Tell us the ones that fucking suck.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get crazy here. Though I owned it and I liked a couple songs off of it, I honestly thought like it's a little out of the scene, but it is in it technically. I did not think 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge by My Chemical Romance was really that good.
I agree with you here. They're like, I don't know, it's weird. Well, actually, it's not really weird to say. They are overrated. They're a band who even now it blows my mind. Like, it just somewhere in time, I guess being broken up did well for them because they weren't that big at the end of their first run. And somewhere in there, they just blew the fuck up. And yeah, it seems like they became... The weird thing, too, is I feel like after they broke up in a while, sat there a while, I feel like people who I never thought listened to them and still don't really know if they did, started acting like they were like this modern day, like, oh, the Black Parade is a modern day, like this and that and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, it was big. It got like radio play and it was like they were a big band for a minute, but I'm like, they're not really, they're like Legend got really overhyped while they were broken up. And I'm with you there. I liked 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, but I'm with you. I'm like, it's not, and actually I don't think any of it's aged well. I liked it when I was younger. I don't remember the last time I listened to a My Chemical Romance album. I really don't. Like, and I don't mean it like they're dog shit. Like, I mean, if I hear them somewhere, like, you know, they get played in between bands, like on set, you know what I mean? Like when you go to concerts, that's a big band that you tend to hear. And it's like, okay, like that's fine. But yeah, I never go out of my way to listen to them anymore. Yet people have like somehow made them this, where there's like, I can think of so many more bands that I would put in that position, you know, and I mean, good for them for playing arenas and shit again and being so big, you know. I mean, they're deserving in it in a way, but I guess I just don't quite understand the hype, and that's coming from someone who, I mean, I do like them, and I bought all their albums and shit, but I just don't understand the fanfare now. It's insane.
Yeah, like you kind of said, like the Legend grew like once they broken up.
It really did.
And yeah, there's still songs that like I like, but I have to go out of my way to listen to those songs on this album. Like, all in all, the album's not bad. It didn't really flow well for me. Like looking back at it, like their energy was kind of sporadic, and that's kind of how they are during, or at least were back in the day, as far as like their live shows went.
Yeah.
But like the album itself just didn't flow super well to me, and I think what really did it in, as far as like, you know, just kind of ruining the the vision for me was like they went from like, you know, you check out like their first album, what is it, like I brought you my bullets, you brought me your love, or
some
something
really
along those
fucking
lines.
long bullshit title. Yeah, something like that.
But like, though it's not the same vibe, it reminds me of like kind of like how like AFI went from like this like
very much
like skate punk band, and then all of a sudden they went like super like vampire goth.
That's a good comparison. I know exactly what you're saying. That's a very good comparison. To be honest, the rawness of the first, maybe I'm just trying to be like the cool fucking guy, but if there is a My Chemical Romance album, and I haven't listened to it in years, but like really the last time I gave a fuck about them, I listened mostly to their first record. I liked the rawness of that one.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things. Like I remember like everyone at my school was like, you know, obviously I'm Not Okay was like the first hit off that record as far as I'm aware. And then they have like the Helena, which I still don't think it's that great of a song.
No, and that was the big, that was really the one that blew I think that was the one that started getting them like MTV play. Like I'm Not Okay got a lot of Fuse play, but that like that crossover where you would see, because there's always those bands that got played a lot on Fuse, but you would know when they got mainstream big, because then they'd start being played on MTV and VH1. And I think Helena was the one that like, then they started getting played on MTV. That was the one. I'm Not Okay, I think got maybe minor play on MTV, but I think Fuse pushed that a lot more. I honestly remember the very first time hearing them, because it was I'm Not Okay. I turned on Fuse, and like it was the end of the music video. Like, and you got to give credit where credit's due. That's something I'll give them. They made great music videos at a time where music videos were still, that was kind of the last era where music videos could do something for you, I feel like if you had a cool one. And they were pretty good with that, with music videos. And that one like caught my eye right away. Like I didn't even know who the fucking band was. I don't even think I caught their name the first time. But like I saw like the last 30, 40 seconds of that video, and I'm like, oh fuck. And then I heard it like one or two other times. And then my cheap ass back then, I don't know if I'm sure you do, when CDs were still like $20. I remember I saw that album on sale for $10 at FYE, and I'd never heard the rest of it. I'm Not Okay off Fuse, and I'm like, well, fuck, it's only $10. That's a great deal. Normally this thing's like fucking $15, $20. So I bought it off that. But sorry, I guess I just sidetracked. That was my long-winded way of saying Fuse played My Chemical Romance a lot in 2005. Sorry, but I was going somewhere, and then it became very narcissistic, and all I just did was tell you this personal story of being. I started just getting nostalgic and old. I'm sorry.
It's cool, and like it's funny because like after that album, like so I heard that album first, and I was like, okay, you know, this is My Chemical Romance, whatever. And then I heard, you know, and then I went back and got the first album, and you know, for me, like even though production-wise and like quality, it's not as good.
That's the charm of it, though. I think,
of it. And it was a very rad album to listen to. And like once I heard that album, I was like, okay, I feel like I don't really need to hear much more of My Chemical Romance. And then they came out with the Black Parade, and I heard that song, and I was like, yeah, no, I think I'm done with it. Like the intro riff is cool, like when it actually kicks in. But like other than that, like the rest of it doesn't do anything for me. And like that Teenager song, like it's not very good. And that it's funny because that album is so beloved by so many people that like it's one of those like I feel like I should visit it and be like, okay, maybe I should give this a shot. But as of right now, like the two songs that I heard from it, and I think Blood. Yeah,
Blood's a weird fucking song.
Yeah.
I don't like that one. That one I'm just like, this is too, maybe I'm just not goth enough, but I'm just like, this is, right? That's the weird one where there's just like piano and shit. It's supposed to sound kind of like almost like a ragtime song or something, kind of like old, and he's just like talking about fucking blood. Yeah, it's like I'm sorry, I'm just not. I'm like, I don't know, that's too fucking weird for me.
And kind of the last bit on this was just like the thing that kind of killed the entire band for me almost as a whole. My old bass player, anytime the octave riffs for I'm Not Okay or the Black Parade would kick in for those, 15 seconds or however long they play, he would start cutting like a back to school Walmart ad during the octave riff. And now I can't stop hearing that song as like a back to school song. Like as soon as those octaves hit, he's like, come to Walmart when we have back to school sale deals on 3 for $5 backpacks, 2 for 99-cent pencil bags, And it's just,
folders are 3 for 75 cents.
Oh, I can't stop hearing that promo that he cuts anytime those songs play, and I can't do it anymore.
That's so weird and specific.
It is. It's so specific. And once he started doing it, I just can't stop hearing it now. So anytime they play like on the radio, like I'll cut my own promo in the car for 15 seconds about a back to school sale at like a Target. And then as soon as that ends and they start singing, I just change the channel.
all of a sudden, anytime you hear that on the radio, all of a sudden you have to like go buy office supplies all like out of nowhere. You're just like, fuck, I need pencils. I need more pens and notebooks. Yeah, fucking, you got to go find the closest Office Max.
Yeah.
That's very weird.
Yeah,
that's very weird, man. I got to admit. I can't lie.
Yeah, it's so weird. My bass player was a weird guy.
Yeah, blame the bass player.
Hey, he was the one that cut the original promos, so I'm blaming it on him.
I don't know. That album was really more than, and actually this is what I was going to say, and then we'll move on. I don't think, this is again Anthony's fucking opinion corner here, I don't think you should revisit that album because I don't think you'll like it, because here's the thing with My Chemical Romance. There's half of an audience where nostalgia takes hold, and they are people like our age who really were huge into them back in the MySpace days, and there's nostalgia, so they still love them in that way. And then there's people who I think are like modern day goth teenagers. They're a band who I think you have to get into at a certain age or you'll never get into them. And it doesn't even mean year, because there's people still getting into them now, but I think they're getting into them as like teenagers. Like, I don't think, you know what I mean? There's certain bands where you can get into when you're older. Like as I got older, like I never liked the Velvet Underground or Lou Reed. I never understood it. And then as I got older, I started to really like his music and the Velvet Underground, understanding it. There's some bands that you get with age. I don't think My Chemical Romance is one of those. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't think you have to go revisit the Black Parade, because if you didn't, unless you're an angsty teenager right now and you hate your fucking parents, so you got to listen to the Black Parade, like you either like it now or you really like it now because you enjoyed it when you were like in middle school. You know what I mean? It's one of those albums. I think you had to be there.
Yeah, it's totally possible. But then also, again, like, that's kind of part of the reason why I go back and kind of revisit these albums or like these bands, is because, back when they were at their quote unquote peak or whatever, either they weren't my genre or they were so shoved down my throat from my friends or whatever. Like, you have to listen to this band. The more you try to force something on me, like the more I'm going to like resist and push back and just like be uninterested. So like going in and like listening to these bands on my own time and like when I want to, it allows me to like not have anyone breathing over my shoulder. It's like, it's like when you're, it's like imagine being at the office and you're on the computer typing something and a coworker is like, oh, I wouldn't use that word in that email. That's a run-on sentence. Oh, you should type it like this. I'm like, stop doing that. I would hate if someone, like, every time I try to listen to an album, someone's like, listen to this song. Oh, listen to this part. Oh, wait, don't listen. Yeah, I'm like, come on. Like, let me just enjoy it on my own. Like, I'll give you my review when I'm done. And at the time, it was just never like that, because kind of going back further with the whole MySpace thing, it was all about pushing those big artists that was like, this is the hot band right now, let's hop on that trend, blah, blah, blah. And it was just too much for me. So that's why it took me so long to visit certain bands. Even like, as embarrassing as this is to say out loud, because I said it online a few weeks back, when I listened to Bleed American for the first time.
I was just about to bring this up to you. I was about to start some shit and go, you want to bring up some shitty opinions you have, Kyle? I was going to bring this up.
But it's not a shitty opinion. That's not a shitty opinion.
Should I call Zach right now and bring him on? Because he loves Bleed. It's his favorite Jimmy Eat World record.
No, it's a great record. It's really good. There was just 2 songs that were kind of like for me, but like all in all, like I didn't hate the record whatsoever.
I thought you didn't
but
like
at the
it.
Time, no, I liked it. It was just 2 songs that were just kind of like the vibe kind of dipped for me a little bit.
What ones are they? Which ones didn't you like?
I don't remember.
Oh, it was, no, I
look
do.
back.
It was Your House, because that's my favorite song. It's one of my favorite Jimmy Eat World songs, like, all together. Like, that's like the song, like, if I try to get someone into Jimmy Eat World, I got to be that guy. I'm not going to play them, like, the middle. I normally will play them that song, which I don't know is fair, because it doesn't sound a lot like their other shit. But I love that song. But I also get where you're going. I can appreciate that, or not appreciate, but I can accept the fact of that, because most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I hate when a record throws an acoustic song in the middle of it. I don't fucking like that normally. So I don't disagree with you. Now, can I ask you this? And I probably asked you it when we talked about this. Do you think you would have liked that song if it was placed somewhere else, or would you just not like that song at all, no matter where the fuck it was? You just didn't like the song.
Yeah, for all in all, I just wasn't a huge fan of the song, and it was more or less just because if it's a song I'm thinking of, because I said there was 2 songs, I just don't remember what the other one was.
There was 2, but I remember that because I love Your House, and you did not like that one, and the other one.
Yeah, there was something about like the guitar riffing was extremely odd, and it just didn't make sense in the song. But I don't recall what it was to save my life.
To be honest, it was funny, your picks, because I remember guessing the 2, and I thought you were talking about, because there are a couple songs where I think they get kind of weird at the end of that record, where like the one song kind of has a weird intro to it that I think goes too long. Like I like Bleed American. It's not my favorite Jimmy Eat World record, but like they lose me for a second towards the end. But I was surprised. Okay. Those weren't the songs you thought were weird. But you surprised me with your picks, but I can't remember the second one either.
Yeah, I'd have to do a scroll back and see oh yeah, what was it? And I'm sure I can find it if I really needed to. But
well, I wanted to talk about, actually, this kind of goes with the acoustic thing, and also brings up the other topic I wanted to talk to you about. Another band, because one that always jumps in my head right away. I don't know if I ever asked your opinion on this song, but as far as albums having an acoustic song in the middle of it and just fucking it up, in my opinion, the right away in my head is Alkaline Trio's Enjoy Your Day. I fucking hate that song. I hate where it's at on God Damn It, because that record's going so well, including the song before it, As You Were, is my favorite song on the whole record and one of my favorite Alkaline Trio songs. And all of a sudden there's this whiny fucking, and really, you want to talk about like emo and the whiny acoustic stuff you're talking about, that was Danny when he was still kind of had his like what he sounded like in Tuesday, when he was still doing like the kind of Promise Ring thing. And it's just it's just not, it's emo in the worst way. But what I will say is maybe it's also the placement. Maybe if it was somewhere else I would like it, because I like the last song on that record, and that one's acoustic. I can't remember the name of it, but Matt's last song on God Damn It, and I love that song. That one I think is a great song. And actually, really, it may be placement, because the other thing is I think one of Danny's best songs is Fine, and that one is mostly acoustic. Like they are good as acoustic band. I like Damnesia too. Like I really like that album, but I hate Enjoy Your Day with a fucking passion. And when I listen to God Damn It, I always hit skip there. I will listen to the rest of that record front to back until I get to that song, and I hit skip. So I do get why you probably wouldn't like the one on Bleed American. Like, you may not like it because it just fucks up I think a lot of times an acoustic song in the middle of an album just kind of fucks up the vibe.
Yeah, it really depends on like it depends on the band and if they can pull it off. And like Alkaline Trio, they can pull off acoustic songs, but like
yeah, they
in my
normally
opinion,
can.
it's like just like most songs that are acoustic in my head, like when it comes to like songs and albums, they just always do better towards the end. You know, like
Yeah.
you know, in the later half. You know, not like if there's 12 songs. I'm not talking about like song number 7. I'm thinking like 10, 11.
I'd agree.
You know,
that.
there
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
even the
that's-
last song, even if it's the last song, I'm fine with it. But yeah, anytime you throw an acoustic early to the middle of a record, if your vibe isn't that, like even if you're like a slow electric band, it's probably fine. But if you just throw a straight acoustic in the middle or early on, it is kind of a vibe killer for me, especially if it's like a fast like rock punk band. It just leaves a weird taste.
Let me throw this one to you, and it's not acoustic, but it's slow. It's a slower song. It's kind of ballady. But how do you feel? Not so much with after. Take out the fact that you've heard the song 1,000 times and you probably don't love it as much. But how do you feel about a song like I Miss You? Because I really, at the time when it came out, and I don't know, maybe I'm not being fair, and maybe it is just hearing it so fucking much that I start to not like it. But that is another one I will skip because I get really pumped listening to that record, and all of a sudden that one hits, and it's a ballad, and I just don't know, I don't like it. I feel like it's like a come down when I don't want it to be.
Yeah. For what we were discussing via text yesterday or even the day before, just kind of about Blink, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go through their whole discography on Spotify. And I just listened to everything from Buddha to as much as I could, to the end of my shift. And I was listening to the self-titled, and I got to I Miss You, and I was like seconds away from skipping it. Because I'm not a big fan of that song. Even when it came out, like I just didn't really think it was hit worthy. And I was like, it's something different from Blink. They're trying to be different with this whole record. I forgive them. And I caught myself at work like an idiot. I decided not to skip it, and I'm just walking around, doing my thing. And I was this idiot that everyone calls out as a joke. As soon as Tom opens his mouth,
No, I know where this is going.
Out loud at work, I said the infamous lyrics, and I stopped, and I was like, "Did I just fucking do that?"
Oh no!
And you know what? It happened. I listened to the rest of the song. And I was just like, I can't believe I did it. My mouth has been shut for hours just listening to these records. I didn't say one lyric out loud at work at all. And then that one
the most
line
basic
comes in,
fucking song too.
and I yelled it at work. And I was like, you know what? They got me. I don't like the song still, but God damn it, that part gets me.
Dude, after that, did you start singing the na-nas and all the small things?
No, I was already past that point.
I'm calling you a Joser, dude. No, I'm just fucking with you.
But yeah, no, I Miss You. Like, I just was not a huge fan of that song, but like, I understand why they wanted it as a hit.
It
Wouldn't
is,
be my thing.
I liked it more when it came out, and I do think part of it is overexposure. But I always thought Feeling This was the better single. And really, though, of all the singles, the underrated one is Down. I think Down really, in a way, I think it does what I Miss You is trying to do, but it does it better because they do the slow part, but then they build up. And I think they do it in a less cheesy. I mean, obviously they never really build up and I Miss You, but in a way they kind of do the same thing later on in that, the kind of, because again, it does slow it down. You know what I mean? That is a slower song and shit, but like it's just done in a much better way. Like it's more in their field because I think I Miss You too. I wonder if the other issue with it is you see what they're trying to do with it, but as much as I love them, I don't know that they're a band that could pull that off. You know what I mean? Like, because I Miss You is kind of cheesy, and it's like you kind of get what they're going. They're always trying to be the Cure, but it's like, dudes, you're not the Cure. Like, you tell dick jokes, and play octave chords and shit. Like, and I love
Yeah.
it, but I'm like, you're not the Cure. And a couple times on that record, they do some new wave shit and Cure-like stuff that they do well. But
always.
yeah, okay, always is a great one. That whole new wave vibe. But here's a song I totally wasn't even thinking of. Later on the record, I don't know why I'm comparing down to I Miss You. What the fuck am I thinking? All of this is a better representation of what that is a much better song than I Miss You, and it's that same eerie, and fuck, they literally have Robert Smith on the goddamn song. That I think they execute so much better. That is the more superior song to I Miss You. Now, I get it. I don't think all of this would have been a single. I think it's too moody and slow and eerie to have been like a radio single. Like I get why I Miss You is mainstream wise the one they went with, but I think all of this is the better song if you're comparing the two. And I think those are fair assessments. I think those two songs are fair to compare.
Yeah. And the thing, it's funny because we've talked about this on other episodes about like, one song leading to another, one album leading to another, and going from Go to
great fucking
all
song.
of this. It's such a great transition because like the riff, like they play the same riff at the end that they do at the beginning of Go and all of this, and it's just it's there's no passage of time that like there's not even like a small track beat, like a skip.
No, you're right. It's
perfect.
like seamless.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this last night while listening to the record. Like, obviously, Robert Smith is on it, and we kind of dabbled in this in the text message, like at least as far as like this mild topic on like demos. I wonder if that song was ever vocally sang with Mark before Robert Smith got on the song.
I think it was. I think I've heard in interviews that it was. I don't know if it was recorded, but I'm pretty sure that was a thing, and like his voice didn't work on it or something. I could be making this up, but I swear I've heard interviews where they've talked about this like multiple times. Okay,
because I've heard interviews about like they would want to have him on the record, but it's fucking Robert Smith. Like, what are the chances? And then they got him in, and even on like, again, this is Wikipedia, so who knows the accuracy of it, but his name is on there as at least as like a writer of the song. So I don't know if he actually helped us. Yeah, I mean,
See, I
that's
thought it was
Wikipedia.
done.
So.
I thought it was done before that, but who knows?
Maybe he tweaks some lyrics, And
that is true because you could modify a line and get a writing credit.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit with one of the worst Blink songs ever with Sober, and how Patrick Stump helped write the song. He technically only wrote one lyric on that song. Like, he wrote one line.
Really?
And he's considered, he wrote, the song's blanking me because I skip it often, but he does like one line, and that was, I think from what I heard, that was it. So that's his.
You know what I got to say to that?
Spot.
You know what I got to say to that? No wonder Pete Wentz writes all the lyrics in Fall Out Boy.
Hey, this city wasn't that bad of a record.
Actually, no. I like soul punk, motherfucker. I do like soul punk.
Oh yeah, soul punk, yeah.
But you know what though? It ain't the lyrics. The lyrics aren't the main attraction on that record. It's more the musicianship.
Yeah.
Which
exactly,
I'll say. Here's the thing. Pete Wentz is not a musician. He is a great lyricist. I will never say he's a great musician. Patrick Stump is a great musician. He's an okay lyricist.
Yeah, I agree.
Credit where credit's due. Zach roasted, I think, both our asses, but mostly mine when we talked about that on our Unpopular Opinions one, because I mentioned something about how good that record is, and he's like, wait, that has This City on it, right? I think that's all he said, too.
Yeah.
But the way he said it, it's like, he got my ass so well, because all of a sudden I had to be like, oh, goddamn, like, okay, all right, I have to, you're not wrong. Like, I couldn't even argue it.
Yeah, and then actually, it's funny, I think that might have been the first record I ever did the Saturday morning thing to. I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to that album. See how I know, like, This City. I know that song off of it.
But
I listened to everything else, and there was one song that like was relatively long, and it sounded like 2 songs. It was actually really solid, but it was just a little too long. But yeah, wasn't a bad record. It was just musically it was.
It's him doing a Michael Jackson impression, basically. I mean, really, if you go into it, he's doing Michael Jackson. There's a little Motown in there. There's like a lot of like 80s synth pop. Like if you go into it and go, and that's the thing with Fall Out Boy. I don't want a pop record from Fall Out Boy. That's why I don't like their new shit. But Patrick Stump, after hearing the first song, you kind of realize what he was doing. You go, oh, it's a pop record. And not even pop. Yeah. I shouldn't say that because a lot of other people at that time were doing like throwback sounds and using synth. So I won't say he was the only one doing it in pop music, but he wasn't trying to write even modern pop music. I think he was kind of writing kind of more from that influence of like Hall & Oates and a lot of like 80s bands and shit. And really, I'm surprised. I mean, radio did push him. Like I remember him playing a lot of like radio show tours or like festivals and stuff. But I'm surprised it never got bigger for him because that is a pop record. It is a 100% pure pop record, but it's a good pop record.
Yeah, and it's not bad by any means. And I found the song. It's called "Run Dry." It's like in the middle of the record.
Yeah, I think I haven't listened to that album in a long time, but I think I remember that.
Yeah, one. I just looked it up, and yeah, that's the song that I thoroughly enjoyed. And it's relatively long because I think they cut it into like almost 2 songs. But yeah, the music was cool. Like the lyrical content was a little goofy, but I mean, I can handle goofy.
I still like it better than anything that Fall Out Boy's done since they've gone back together. I haven't liked Soul Punk is better than any of the anything post Folia Do.
Yeah, and even Folia Do, like I
was gonna say even that's kind of
biggest fan of. Like,
okay, that's another
stuff on there.
That's another funny one with Zach. Is he kind of got my ass on that? Because I remember not even on the podcast. This is just like us talking as friends. And like I think I mentioned that I liked Folia Do, not listening to it in years. But he's like, no, dude, listen to it one day. It's not good. And I put it on like in the gym one day, like I don't know, like weeks later, just randomly. And I start listening to it. And I skip a song, and then I'm listening, and I skip, and I realize all of a sudden I skipped like half the record, and I just had to text him, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, all right, I get credit where credit's due, dude. I guess you're right. This album's not very fucking good. And he was right. It's like, okay, I guess, because at first I'm like, you're crazy. You got to quit talking shit. That record's better than you're saying. And then I listen, I'm like, oh, I guess when I skip 9 of the 12 songs, yeah, maybe it's not a very good album.
Yeah, and it's kind of something we like touched on a little bit, with like, over, certain eras of bands or certain albums, they only fit in like a certain timeline. Like after that, you can't really listen to it, the same anymore. Yeah. Or, it's kind of, you had to be in that bubble. You had to be in that time to like get it. Like we were talking about with My Chemical Romance. And just like, like everyone does, like our music, our influences change, or like what we liked a couple years ago, we don't like anymore.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny kind of going back, like as a kid, like I really loved that, like that really big Good Charlotte record that got them like MTV.
Young and Hopeless? Young and the Hopeless?
Yeah. Like as a kid, I loved it.
To be honest, that's like one of my first like pop punk records. Like after like Simple Plan and Sum 41, maybe like that was like the third like quote unquote punk or pop punk record that I ever was into.
Yeah, I liked it. Like I was a fan of it. Like just like
hasn't
almost
aged great,
any
though.
little. Yeah, I listened to it as an adult, like probably like a year ago, maybe a little bit more.
I did the same
like,
thing.
It was fun. It was a fun nostalgia trip. It was a nostalgia trip, But other than that, like, didn't really like it much anymore.
What I will say,
okay.
it is one of those albums. Though I'm with you. I'll go years without listening to it, but I will always remember all the fucking lyrics.
Yeah, like I had a really fun time at work listening to that record, and all of a sudden, like My Bloody Valentine comes on, and like Riot
my
Girl,
favorite
and I'm
one.
just like, and I'm just in it, just feeling it. I'm like, yeah, these songs, I remember these songs word for word, and I haven't listened to them since, early 2000s.
Oh yeah, no, those will always be like. I mean, another one is going back to Panic at the Disco. Like, and I can't fucking stand anything they did after like Pretty Odd. Though they're one that I retroactively, because I'll be honest, I liked a few albums they did for a while, and then I listened to them more, and I was like, oh no, this is actually dog shit. But A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, which I still stand by, is actually a pretty strong record. But that's another one. I won't listen to it for years, but if you played that for me right now, I'll sing. You just played a karaoke version with no vocals, I'll sing the whole goddamn thing front to back, everything, just the whole fucking thing. I'll know it all. Like it's just one of those things that's lodged in my head for the rest of my fucking life.
Yeah, even like Fever You Can't Sweat Out, like that band at that time was just too weird for me, because I kind of already like felt like, they kind of had like, they were like, everyone talked about it. They were like Fall Out Boy light.
See, I never understood that. Like, I know because Pete signed and everything, and the long song
the type
titles.
of vocals that were being delivered. It wasn't they mildly sounded the same, but it was very much just the vocal delivery, because they were so out of the genre.
Yeah, I guess you're right. The vocally they are. See, like, and it's not like, I'm not saying it like you're the only one. They've always gone that comparison, but I always thought it was weird, because I'm like, I'm not saying they sound totally different, but I'm like, they sound fairly unique on that album, where I'm like, I don't feel like they sounded like I kind of feel like they deserve the success they got at the time. So I'm like, yes, they're what people are calling emo or whatever, but it's like they were doing weird different shit on that album, and doing more like they used synths in a better way. Like, they did electronica shit on there that was so much better than other pop punk bands that were using synths. Like, they used them. I thought they were better songwriters and shit right off the bat. But I think a lot of that was like Ryan Ross too. I think that's the other reason. I think he wrote a lot of the good shit early on. But I don't know. I see some of the Fall Out Boy comparisons. I just never saw all of them.
Yeah, for me, it was just the vocal delivery, like the way
that I agree with.
Yeah, just the way they would sing. It's not like musically they sounded the same, because they really didn't at all. It was just their range was in the same. Like, in the same area, and the way they would sing, just like the way they would hit those, those weird notes. And, I'm not a vocalist, so I don't know all the fancy terms, but like, they were just different enough in the scene where they can be comparable. And like that first album, I only know like 3 songs off of it. Like, I know, like, I Write Sins Not Tragedies. I think
probably, but it's better if you do. You know that one?
Maybe
the lap dance song.
Oh, gee, I don't know about that.
Oh no, then it's no, because you know that one. Then
yeah, it was. I think the lying's
the most fun a girl can have without taking her clothes off. That was.
I think that's it. Was it? Okay.
It has to be, because that was so specific. There's no way it wasn't, because that's such a specific song title that when you started saying at least most of it, you had to have.
Because is that the one that starts where it's like
no,
I'm not going to sing the lyrics. That's the only song of theirs. London something. Right? Maybe.
That's a song on there too. I can't remember the name, but I think that one's the one with that fucking thing. Because I think Lying starts, I think, with just vocals. I think he just starts singing. Oh, you only like the other one?
It was there was only one song that I liked when I heard any of those songs.
That's another.
I don't think it was a hit. It was like London beckoned, blah 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 blah.
Yes, that's
something like that.
Like London beckoned songs. It's a weird title. See, now that's the Fall Out Boy comparison I also agree with. They did have long song titles. Yeah, they did have long fucking song titles that had nothing to do with it. But you know what? Here's the funny thing. When it got overplayed, it got fucking old after a while, but now I miss bands doing that, because really when they first started doing it, like some of those Fall Out Boy song titles are fucking funny. Like some of those are very clever. And I really I like them. After a while, it's like, okay, now everyone's kind of ripping them off. Same with like movie quotes, where like I feel like those like when pop punk got more to like easycore era, I feel like a lot of song titles.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they were all movie
yeah.
fucking. They were movie quotes
Dude.
or something about the fucking Goonies or the Mighty Ducks.
Yep.
Just something. See, you already know.
Yep.
You know exactly.
Yeah, totally, dude. The Goonies and the Mighty Ducks and like
Back to the Future.
Yeah,
a lot of fucking.
back.
You know what? You know what? We could probably blame 4 Years Strong because they're, I'd say, one of the biggest, the bands who got the biggest during that era who did that. So I feel like they're an offender.
Dude, it was like 4 Years Strong, like Set Your Goals.
Yes. You know who else? The Wonder Years stopped it by like later on, but like their really early shit, like Get Stoked on It and Won't Be Pathetic Forever. Like their early stuff has some fucking long cheesy names and like I think like references and shit. Like a lot of that on the early ones.
Yeah. And like even I think if I recall correctly, I think even some of like the Fall Out Boy ones, I think a couple of them were like early Fall Out Boy or references.
Oh, a lot of movie,
like,
yeah. Like I think the ones like Dirty Dance, yeah. Like Nobody Puts Baby in Corner, Coffee's for Closers.
Yeah.
There's fucking a bunch of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
But I miss that now.
Era.
Now that it's been gone for a while, now I miss long song titles that have nothing to do with the song at all.
Oh yeah, and now it's like it seems like so many bands just are turning to just like the one word song.
I was about to say that, like they're one fucking word titles now.
Like no joke, like I didn't really notice it until yesterday because I was listening to them all day, for like half my night. A lot of early Blink songs, like the first like 3 records,
they have nothing to do with the song.
Not really much that, but like 80% of the songs from like the first 3 records are all just one word titles.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like
Carousel,
and
M&M's,
Don't, Sometimes,
Time,
Fentuzler,
TV,
Lemmings, Waggy. We can go on. And then like once Enema of the State came out, then they started touching on a couple little bit longer song titles.
Well, actually, the other thing, what I would also say they stopped doing that, and then they also, I think, started just doing song titles that had to do with the song. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's exceptions like Dyson Terry Gary and stuff, but for the most part, well, actually, no, I can't say, not on Enema, because to be honest, Dumpweed never said, there's never a time where he says Dumpweed, Dyson Terry Gary, Wendy Clear, Anthem, so I shouldn't say that. Later on, like at this point, I think now including, like, I think California, like, all that, it's just another way for me to shit on that album. But, like, all those have titles that have to do with, like, the fucking song now.
Or even if you listen to Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, like...
most of those.
First Date, Story of a Lonely Guy, Rock Show, Roller Coaster, Reckless Abandon, Every Time I Look for You.
When you
fucked Give Me One Good Reason, Shut Up. They literally had... That entire album almost had the song title in the song somewhere.
Yeah, I think Anthem might be one of the only ones. Oh, Stay Together.
Maybe Kids. Online songs.
No, I think he said, or no, he doesn't say songs. No, he just says like I think he says online screen name or something.
Yeah, which that song is so underrated.
That's one. I was about to say that might be one of his best. Like that song. Like I even remember before I even liked Blink that much. Like when like my mom had fucking that album on cassette. Like, even before I liked them and she was just listening to them, I think dude, even that...
I love your mom.
Fuck yeah, dude. Like...
Dude, let me meet your mom.
Like, today?
Sure.
Well, let me know when you're here. We'll do an episode. But
Will you bring your mom?
No. Actually, I was just about to say that. Like, nah, I don't want my mom on here. That'd be weird. You can go hang out with her and then we can do it. But like,
okay, cool.
Even back in the day when I was like 8 or whatever, like I always remember that like the end of Anthem Part 2 going into online songs, and that like right away is like one of the best parts of the album. Like long before even really giving a shit about that band.
Yeah, and there's some. You ever experience that moment when you're on like YouTube or whatever, and you like find a song that looks like there's a music video to it, and you're like, what the hell?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This isn't. And then you click on it, and it's like it's not a music video, but it's like fan made of sorts. A long time ago, someone did a lyric music video to online songs, and it was under the title like Kinetic Typography. And I don't know how many views it has now, but like it felt like at the time it was almost viewed, at least amongst my circle, as another Blink music video, because it was just the lyrics, but they would like fall and hook and like spin, you know, to like every lyric. And like, you know, when they say like it shines so bright it blinds me, like the word bright would like illuminate for a second. And it was a super cool music video, and it was literally just the lyrics like coming up, but it was like the way they were like animating it looked super cool. And I thought like, man, how is this song not a hit, especially after like seeing this? Like they need to make a music video for it.
I could hear that song like that. Really, like it's funny they were telling them that they had no singles on that record, because really I would say if Rock Show and First Date didn't exist, I think that would be like the fucking single off of it. Like it's just so catchy right away. Like him just coming in, just Mark with bass and just vocals. They don't do that enough on Blink songs. They should do that more, actually. Like him just coming in with a bass line and him singing on it, fucking perfect. Like beautiful, just so good.
Or even like Don't Tell Me That It's Over. It hits.
That's good.
It just hits a guitar riff. Tom starts singing, and then it's just a bass line immediately.
Yeah.
And that was another one of those songs where I was like, man, if this wasn't on like a B-side and this was on the album, this should be a hit, or this should be like the album opener.
I'll
instead of like having a long intro.
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
Oh no, go ahead, dude.
No, I was just say like, because I brought it up on the Blink one, like the top 5, that like instead of having like a guitar riff like intro that they kind of are formulaic for, you know, they did it on you know Carousel, or just a long intro, Carousel, Dumpweed, Anthem Part 2, like, you know, they kind of build. The first song always has kind of like a building intro, but instead if they just kicked it off with like an online songs or like a Don't Tell Me That It's Over, where it's just an immediate punch in your face. Like, that would be something super rad. And like I guess they kind of touched on it when like Blink did the Skiba thing, and they did Cynical, because it's a bass, just like bass chords.
That's what I was about to when I was rudely interrupting you a second ago. That's what I was about to say, but I'm like, it was off track because we were still talking about take off your pants and jacket. I was going to say, it's the only time you'll hear me not shit on California. I don't think Cynical is a bad opener. I think Cynical is really good. I think Cynical is one of the only, really actually the first 3 songs on California I think are okay. And I think Cynical is probably the best because it's just a fun, like fast, like skate punk song. And I love the buildup of that. I think it's great how he just comes in with those bass chords. Like I really, that is a great fucking way to open, which the kind of is like that. Cause like, I think online songs could be an album opener. And I think they did that pretty well with Cynical.
Yeah, because what was it? It was Cynical to Bored to Death,
and She's Out of Her Mind, or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, and okay, even the next song, Los Angeles.
That's where they lose me, and that's where they lose me. That's where I go, fuck this album. I turn it off.
See, I'm pretty sure I put Los Angeles on my top 5.
I think
if
you
I
did.
recall correctly.
Yeah, I'm
because,
pretty sure you did.
Because that was because that's what I call, like, that's like Blink's introduction with Matt Skiba, and it totally has a Matt Skiba, like, old trio, like, kind of dark vibe. Like, trio dark, not what Blink calls dark.
But it's the you know what? I would agree with that, but what I think is it's the
elements. The whole LA.
Well, yeah. Well, no. Here's the thing: is I agree that it has some Alkaline Trio elements, but it has the elements of what they were doing on like Crimson, but the songs I don't like. Because there's some cringy song, like what's the one, like Burn, like You Live and You Burn or whatever, like that. I think that one's on. It's like that. It's that cheesy side where I go, he's trying to do kind of, it's like Skiba doing pop, but it's not good, you know? And like, there's good hooks, like there's good hooks and good vocal melodies in Alkaline Trio songs, but he's almost trying to do a pure pop song, and it's like, yeah, dude, no, I'm not into this.
Did you ever partake in trying to listen to Matt Skiba and the Secrets?
Yeah, and I like, you know what? I don't like all their releases, but I do like most of whatever the album is with him on the cover with lipstick on. It's like all blue and he has the lipstick. There are some good songs on that, actually.
Yeah, okay.
But I will say that's the only one I've really fucked with. And I know he has other releases under that. I've never really checked him out. So my gauge and interest in it, if that gives you a little more like insight to it, I've never really cared enough to go listen to any of the other stuff. Gotcha.
Okay. No, that's fair.
How do you feel about it? Is it good, or have you ever really checked it out?
I like it. It's been a while since I've gone back and listened to it, but I remember listening to it and enjoying it because it was different. And like Skiba had like, maybe even at that point, he had like so many like weird little side projects. He had that. He had the Heavens and Hell.
Yeah, that's right, with Adam Willard.
Or the Hell, something like that. Yeah. And they were all like, you know, obviously because like Skiba's voice is so distinct and like so recognizable that it's hard to be like, oh, is this another Alkaline Trio song? But like, you know, there was just enough difference where you can kind of get the, you know, you kind of, you know, pick it out and be like, okay, this isn't Trio, but it is Matt Skiba doing something else. I liked it. It was just something I've kind of the recurring topic of this is like, it'd be something I would like to revisit, you know, after not hearing it for a while.
Yeah, that's a good, because then the other thing too is you go back and go, was I just being a Skiba fanboy and liking it, or is this actually legitimately good?
Exactly, because that was part of the thing when it came to like, you know, listening, say, to Angels and Airwaves, you know, like when Blink split and Tom did that whole thing, like that first record, I do like it. Even now, you know, all these years later, I still like it. But I remember thinking to myself, am I forcing myself to like this because I love Blink and I love Tom? Or is this actually good? Yeah. And then as I got older and I started really kind of finding myself like as an actual adult, like I do like it, but I can fall off the AVA, you know, bandwagon whenever I felt like it. And I did when the Love albums came out. That's kind of like when I was done with them.
That was the last one that I was really, I liked Love, the first one, and Part 2 had a couple good songs, but like that was the last time I really cared much. Like they did do that like Dreamwalker. I don't know if it was a full album or what. I listened to it once or twice, but like Love was the last time I really cared or like listened to the album front to back multiple times.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to revisit the Trio, or not Trio, but the Matt Skiba stuff and be like, now kind of being years removed from it, being like, did I really like this, or was I just kind of like a mark for Skiba?
Well, he kind of has too, like I think you just said it, but like he's kind of, and I think Dan too, really like there's kind of a curse of that where like you go do other projects as they both do other side projects, but it's hard not to think of them as this is an Alkaline Trio song just because you've heard them so much. And same with Tom. Like I had trouble with Angels and Airwaves in the beginning because I kept comparing it to Blink because it's like, honestly, that's naturally what you do originally. It's like you've been listening to this guy for years. This is the guy from Blink. So it's like it's very hard to hear them as something else.
Yeah, like should you be comparing them? No. But are we going to? Yes.
Yeah, you're going to naturally like, you know, unless they really somehow change their voice a lot, or like you didn't really listen to them before, it's like, yeah, it's going to be very hard not to think of that. I mean, really, it's like listening to Plus 44. It's like you listen to that, Mark, same with Mark. It's like, it's hard not to be like, oh, this is the guy who sings on half of all those Blink songs. Like, and it sounds
and
like
that comparison, and that comparison is a little bit more digestible because genre-wise, it's still like in that kind of
closer
pop,
to the realm,
punk rock, whatever. Yeah.
That's aged
Where
better.
Angels and
I will
Airwaves,
say,
yeah.
which to be fair, I shouldn't even compare them because Plus 44 had a one and done with their record, whereas Angels and Airwaves have continued. So that's probably not fair to say, but I do think When Your Heart Stops Beating has aged better than most of Angels and Airwaves shit.
It's possible. I guess it kind of depends on who you're asking and like, you know, the kind of
Obviously
like,
you
their
don't agree.
mindset on life. No, it's because like I've known so many people that like will never listen to Blink-182, but they'll listen to Angels and Airwaves.
Those people are fucking nerds.
Different.
Those are I can't. There's so many. No,
like
this
U2
is
and the Rolling Stones too
true.
much?
This is true. Anyone I've ever met who's that way are always the biggest nerds, and they have really shitty, like, Circa Survive is their favorite band or some shit. like, like this is, I'm getting into shit talking territory, but like they're the big, like, I love Manchester Orchestra, like shit like that, and it's like the people who like, because here's the thing, most people, let's be completely honest, like Angels and Airwaves because it's Tom from Blink. They got into Blink and then they got into Ava, and that's why we like it. Like, I mean, yeah, we may like the songs, but the whole reason we even originally got into it was from Blink. The people who don't like Blink but like Ava, you know what that means? It means they like synths and space and weird fucking songs about things that aren't really about anything real. They're about fucking astronauts and shit. That's what they like. Those aren't the elements that bring us to Ava. Tom is what brings us to Ava. Those fucking nerds are brought there from space and astronauts, and you can quote me on that. They fucking love Anthony Green.
Or whoever was the vocalist for Circa Survive at that time, because we all know how many vocalists they had.
Oh shit! Did they? I wouldn't know.
I don't actually. It's funny. I don't actually know the real answer to that, but I'm pretty sure they went through multiple vocalists. Because that was another one of those bands that like I never really got into, and they were like really starting to get big. Like after I graduated like high school, they were.
Yeah, I've never understood the hype of them at all. I don't
I
like his voice.
I understood that there was something unique about it, but it wasn't my thing.
I will say that
you know?
they are talented in that way, where I do think they're kind of, their sound's unique. And even though I don't like Anthony Green's voice, he has a unique voice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like I can't really shit on them. I don't like it, but it's like, okay, but only for a second. Okay. If it sounds fucking weird right now, it's because my hand hit the space bar and we got off for a second. Now, what the fuck were we saying? Because now I'm all jumbled from that. Oh, with Circa Survive, like, I mean, part of me doesn't get how big they are, but it's like, again, I can also go, they're unique. Because sometimes you look at a band and go, why the fuck is that band big? They sound like band A, B, and C. Whereas with Circa Survive, I go, that's pretty unique. I can't really say they sound like anyone. So it's like, you know, I give them points in that realm, but it's never been my thing.
Okay. Yeah. It was one of those bands, like, I recall they were super unique for what they were. And like they had a different sound, like as far as like what everyone else was kind of doing. It was a little bit more, if I recall correctly, it was a little bit more like spastic and kind of, you know, a little bit more noise-makey of sorts.
Yeah, sure.
But it was, I really don't remember. Like, it was one of those bands that, like, everyone talked about, and like I heard a couple songs. I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. It just never was my thing. But I know a lot of people who did. But you know, you know, people were into it. You know, I can see why. But I never really saw any longevity from it, as far as like, oh, this is going to be a band that's going to be around for a while. Yeah.
They kind of going off that, or I guess no, it's not really going off that at all. With Angels and Airwaves, liking Angels and Airwaves but not liking Blink, those are also like people who like think Say Anything were good after their like third record. Like still thought they were good when Max Bemis did like weird shit, like made a record with no guitar on it, like shit like that, and then those same people would think that's like genius. And those are people who would like, and I'm sorry, I know that's totally off subject of Circus. I mean, it's going back to Ava, But I know that has nothing to do with Circa Survive.
No, but I see what you're trying to get at.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying. Those people are. I don't know. I have nothing nice to say, so I won't say anything at all. I'll shut the fuck up.
There you go.
I'll shut the fuck up. What I was gonna let's move on before I dig before all the fucking Circa Survive fans stop listening to this.
Oh, trust me, I might have said that they had a bunch of vocalists and maybe they only had one, but there was some band that had a lot of vocalists, and I'm pretty sure Anthony Green was one of them.
No, you know who you're thinking of? No, you know who you're thinking of? They're a band who I equally don't understand. Seosin. I think you're thinking of Seosin because he was the original lyricist, or he was the original singer, and then they had a bunch of other ones. Because I remember this because at Skate and Surf when I went in 2014 to go see Midtown reunite. They did a reunion set just before I think either the early November or Midtown. And so I was waiting to see one of them, either seeing early November or Midtown, and they were playing their like reunion show with Anthony Green. And there were fucking so many. Actually, to be honest, I think there were more people there than for like the other bands. I think it thinned out a little bit after, to be completely honest. People fucking love Seosin, but yeah, they reunited with him, and I didn't get it at all.
You know what? I think I figured out who I'm thinking of.
From first to
and
last?
It's another. No, I think I was thinking of maybe Dance Gavin Dance.
Yeah, I think I've never listened to that band, but I think you're right. They have different. There's one dude who was in like I think he was in that band and like Chiodos and some other
Johnny
really
Craig.
Wait, isn't that the guy who tries selling MacBooks? Is that the MacBook guy? That's not who I'm thinking. No, actually, it's funny. I think the other guy's first name is Craig. But he's this from the same scene. He's from that terrible... He's the shitty bands of Warped Tour. Like, that side of Warped Tour and, like, the bands that Epitaph started signing where you started going, well, this is questionable. Like, this isn't bad. This definitely isn't Bad Religion. Like, this isn't... Like, remember that label who used to release, like, Pennywise and Offspring and Bad Religion and all this really good skate punk? Now they're, like, fucking releasing, like, whatever Ronnie Radke's shitting out and, like, from, like, that era. Did you just vomit?
Yeah. No. Yes, I did.
It is funny, though, because Johnny, I think is right. Yeah, he's the one. I think he's, like,
yeah.
He has orange hair, and, like, whatever music he's ever written, it doesn't matter if it sounds like music from the Angels. All I know him is the MacBook guy. He's a MacBook guy.
Yeah, it's MacBook and just like other weird controversies with like drugs, I think.
Yeah, you're right, because the thing was, and that's the other reason why the whole MacBook thing was legit, because I think he kept getting in trouble before and after that too with shit where it's like, oh, okay, dude, like you're not a good, like you're kind of, I don't want to slur his good name, but you're kind of like do scummy shit. It seems like more than once. So it's like, okay, yeah. You probably aren't a very good person. They're probably right, It's not like a one-off thing,
Yeah.
But there's another guy from that era I'm thinking of, and it's not MacBook dude, but I think his first name's Craig too, but I think he sang in a couple different bands. I don't know. That's that terrible side of Warped Tour. All those fucking like double bass pedal bands with just fucking terrible screaming. It's just, I mean, I don't know. Actually, I don't think anyone cares because it's not like I talk about that heavy of bands on here, but it's like, I remember even when I was a teenager, I'd have friends who'd listen to really that heavy shit where you can't even tell what they're saying. And like the double bass pedal is just going the whole fucking time. Like it seems like it's just never stopped. They're just playing like 16th notes on the fucking bass pedal. And like, and with the fucking font that you can't read. And all I'm like is like, you know what? I don't know. Like maybe I'm just not seeking attention the way you are. I'm like, I truly believed then, and I still kind of believe it. Like maybe not everyone who listens to it, but there's a lot of like, including teenagers who listen to that, who are only listening to it for the sole purpose of people going, like, how do you listen to that? Like solely to be different. To piss off people around them and to be looked at like, oh my God, you're so extreme because because I get, like, look at, like, I listen, I mean, and I get it, like, the heavy fucking bands I listen to are like fucking Hawthorne Heights and like, you know, maybe Every Time I Die. Like, I don't listen to super heavy shit, but like some of that stuff I think is okay. But you just get to a realm of you're just listening to this, including on your shitty speakerphone, to just be a fucking tryhard.
No, it was like bands like Attila,
Oh, fuck
Amir, Born of Osiris.
Oh, God.
Just these, yeah, which
All
I have a
those
story about
bands are
those
so
guys.
fucking bad.
I have a story about those guys in particular, but that might not be for the show.
Oh, you can tell me afterwards.
Yeah, maybe I'll tell you afterwards. Exclusive. No,
Actually, I don't know why I'm talking shit. I'm wearing my Suck My Fuck shirt right now, actually.
Oh, wow. Well, it was bands like that, like kind of what you were saying, where it was just like they were doing things almost not even for the music, but just for like an image or like a T-shirt. Because there were so many of those bands that were just doing like the "Watch me fuck your bitch" on like a big black T-shirt and like
I remember
like
that
gold
shirt.
foil font.
I think that's an Amir shirt.
Maybe, or just like shirts with giant swear words on them. That was just like the big attention getting scene.
Well, dude,
and
Attila,
those bands
like Attila, I couldn't name one Attila song, but right away when you say Attila, I go to Suck My Fuck. That just goes right in my head.
Sure.
I go, all those shitty T-shirts that they sold that just said that, like, the music is secondary when it comes to that. And the funny thing is, the people who fed them all that attention, it's like, dude, that's all they're going for with that shit. Like, don't bring it attention. Like, they're not here because they're talented and want to bring their music to the masses. They're trying to sell a like, basically, a band normally hopes that, like, they're selling music and you're there for the music. The music in that case is the promo to buy the merch. You know what I mean? It's like reverse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because like you think about it now, you don't see those shirts anymore. You don't see anyone walking around with those shirts. That was a flash in the pan.
Like after like the year 2015, I think you never saw it again.
Yeah, it was literally like it was. I hate saying it, but I'm going to say it was like all those fucking try-hard kids that just needed attention, and some of them, like most of them actually, from what I noticed, they weren't even like.
They're the biggest assholes. Normally, there are certain bands where there's a correlation, and maybe I'm making assumptions, but the people you meet who are fans of those bands are fucking assholes.
Yeah, and they were looking for just as much attention by wearing the shirt than the band was for just having those shirts. Because then, like, you see these kids walking around, and it's like, like it's the evolution of like the crunkcore kids, where like now it's not like that's what it was. It was like the evolution of crunkcore because it went from like weird emo looking kids, that like were into like some rap, and then it was just like a reminder of like, hey, don't forget like emo and like hardcore had like its roots in like kind of aggressive style music, and all of a sudden it went from like listening to like weird crunkcore bands to like transitioning to like Amir and Attila, and like a lot of those kids transitioned over.
Yeah, you're
like,
right about
they went
that.
from like, and it was just like gold foil shirts with crazy sayings on it, and most of them, from what I noticed, didn't seem to be musically inclined. So it wasn't like they were out there like making this, like trying to make music and like be in a band because like, oh, this band inspired me or whatever. It was just like,
they had cool T-shirts.
Look at me. And like, I get it. I've done that before too. Maybe not with like a band shirt, but I've done that before, wearing like a shirt that's like relatively attention grabbing, but nowhere near like that. Even it's funny, like the band we've talked about a couple of times, very small doses, that band Benson.
Hell yeah.
They had a shirt that they had like the generic like state outline shirt that like, Illinois Fall Out Boy had like Fall Out Boys for, or
Fall Out Boys for Lovers with Illinois State on it.
Yeah. And then like I think Hawthorne Heights had the Ohio is for Lovers
Yeah,
one,
they did.
with Ohio on it.
You know who had a good one? Matchbook Romance had one. I used to have it that said New York is for hustlers. And it was the New York outline that had like fucking dice rolling across the state. I think they may have had the best one.
And they always had like a little catch line right underneath it. It'd be like, blah, blah, blah is for blah, blah, blah. And then it'd be like Illinois popcore or something.
If you're Fall Out Boy, it's Illinois softcore.
Yeah. That band Benson, it was like Benson is for haters, Buffalo bitchcore. And I wore that in like my senior year, but like the bitch part was in such small fonts that like I was able to wear that around in school and like not really get in trouble. And which is funny to think back now, but like these shirts were just like giant, like fuck. Like,
hell yeah.
Your mom will suck my dick on like a giant like font on their shirt. And I'm like, whoa, easy there, bucko.
Okay, now here's the only thing is as much as shit as I'm talking, I do have to admit, and I haven't worn it in years, though I wasn't that young when I was wearing it. I was like 21, 22 when I wore it. But I do have you ever seen the Blink-182 shirt, the one that says offending mom since 1992, and the back is just the lyrics to Family Reunion?
Yeah, I had a shirt that was just like that.
Oh, okay. So I own two of those. I have one that's unopened, and I have one that, again, I have not worn it in years, but I wore it. I mean, I wore it in college. This wasn't even like high school. This was early 20s in college. But like, I remember I went with a friend to go see Less Than Jake, and on the way back home, we hit up this casino, and the fucking guy at the casino made me go into he followed me too to make sure I did it, made me go to the bathroom and put my shirt inside out.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be walking around with it, which like, and honestly, I got compliments because even old people loved it because they thought it was the George Carlin bit. They thought it was a George Carlin shirt. So you'd get old people who came up and go, oh man, George Carlin. And then you get other people who loved it from Blink-182. So much so that same night I went to the Less Than Jake show in Rochester. And then about a week later, I went to go see the Taking Back Sunday in the Used Up in Rochester. And I'm just walking through there and I was wearing I wasn't wearing my Family Reunion shirt that night. But these two chicks stopped me and they're just like, aren't you the guy who was wearing that shirt the other night? I don't even think they knew it was Blink. They're like, weren't you wearing that shirt that said shit, piss, fuck, cunt? Like, just started going through and I'm like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, it was.
I started getting recognized at shows for it.
Yeah. And I guess it's funny because I don't know.
It's a you know what? Here's the thing. And now here I'll play devil's advocate for those tryhards. It is a conversation starter because I got to tell you, I have wild interactions when I wore that shirt. I had some hilarious fucking interactions of people of all ages, of all genders. You got so many different, and really never any bad. I don't think I ever got like, no one was going to like kick my ass or was like, I mean, I'm sure it offended people, but they never came up and said it. But it was always something funny. Like the reaction was always something good.
Yeah, and same. Like I had a shirt. It wasn't actually by Blink. It was by like a fan, and then like they like this clothing company or maybe it was
I think I saw it. Like they sold it online, but it was like unofficial. But I think I remember.
And it's funny because it is a black shirt with gold foil font. And
yes, I do remember this.
And all the, I think like all the vowels and like one vowel in every swear word just had like a skull.
Yep.
Like in it. And that was my shirt. And yeah, I wore it. And like, because it was like mildly censored, I felt like I can get away with it. But like, yeah, like you're saying, like I never like had anyone come up to me as like a kid at like the mall or something being like, hey, your shirt or like blah, blah, blah. But like, I've seen plenty of people like wearing like, you know,
are we hypocrites? Because the problem is we'll wear that shirt, but I'm with you. I instantly judge someone wearing like that shirt like I'm gonna fuck your bitch. Like in a mirror
Yeah,
shirt or whatever,
like-
it's like, I'm here to fuck your bitch or suck my fuck. I'm like, come on. Like, and I think that shit's funny on an ironic level, but not to the point where you're unironic. Like you're unironically wearing that in public. Like there's no sense of irony. Like I just think swear words are funny. Like they're wearing that truly thinking, I guess, that it's cool or edgy or something.
But also, at least the people that I experienced, a lot of people that wore that shirt would kind of try to almost adjust their attitude to wearing that shirt or try to be like the shirt.
Yeah.
So it's like I wear a Blink, family reunion shirt, but I'm not like running around.
I'm not fucking anyone's
fuck
mom.
You,
yeah.
Twats. Yeah, no, I'm not like it. There was people that I like, at least in my relative local.
No, I agree with you.
Literally act like they were gonna fuck your bitch or whatever. Like that was their attitude. Like they thought like they had the shirt, and all of a sudden like the attitude clicked in. It was just like, I'm unstoppable. I can be a badass bro, And like they would try to like just live vicariously through the shirt and like try to be the shirt.
They thought they were as mean. They thought they were as rough and tough as the Victory Records bulldog that was on the fucking arm of the T-shirt. The fucking Victory Records logo on the side of the T-shirt. They thought they were that bulldog.
I have a shirt strictly with the bulldog on the front.
Yeah, they thought they were that fucking dog, dude. They thought they were fucking Tony Victory.
Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, it was like that scene was just like it blew up in such a weird way.
They were the worst fucking people.
And it was a flash in the pan, and like maybe it's just because I'm out of the music scene and I'm not playing, and I'm not really paying attention to it as much anymore. But I hear more people occasionally talk about whatever his name is, Chris Franziak, whatever, the lead singer of Attila. I hear more people talk about him as a person than the band. I don't even know if they're doing anything musically. Amir, haven't heard their name since like 2014.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. It's been a long time.
So like it was just like the people that bought those shirts probably wear them to sleep now at best.
They're probably at fucking Goodwill. I would think most of them ended up in I would hope they grew the fuck out of it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if I myself, like, with the personality that I have, if I had that shirt, I would never wear it in public. I'd wear it if I was, like, sick and I was at home for a day.
I don't know how I'd react if I was walking through somewhere in public and someone was wearing, like, a Free Hugs tank top. Like, I don't know how I would react to that now. Like, to just see that in the wild. Like you just feel like you're Warped Tour fucking 2008 again.
You see a shirt that says Bazinga on it, and you're like, oh Jesus you did not Christ. Age well.
Yeah, like that. It's just going to be like that. You're just going to start seeing those shirts and be like, oh, my God. You know what, though? Here's the fucked up thing. There's going to become a time.
You see a Vote for Pedro shirt.
Well, no. See, that's the thing. That shit's going to ironically come back. Same with Bazinga, because there'll come a time just where, like, shirts from, like, the 80s or, like, with, like, 80s quotes and stuff, there were times in our lives where that was popular. Like it's kind of tongue in cheek. Like it was kind of funny to have like a Mr. T-shirt or something like in the early 2000s. It's good. There's gonna come a time where like hipsters and trendy like indie fucking teenagers are gonna be wearing like Bazinga shirts and stuff. It's not gonna be for a while, but it's gonna happen. There's gonna come a time, dude, where like just like where eventually like 30 years later people were kind of ironically wearing like Gary Coleman shirts, like what you talking about, Willis shirts. They're gonna do the same thing with like Bazinga. It's gonna fucking happen.
For our scene, it's gonna be a picture of Tom's head with "Where are you?"
Oh God, yeah. The memes too. Memes will. All the worst things about like the 2010s and like just present day will all one day just become a bloated nostalgia trip for all of us. You know what I think went down this route on an episode, but that thing where you laugh at like your parents for like their favorite bands now or like playing shows on cruise ships or playing like casinos, but it happens to all of your favorite bands eventually do that. There are
I can't
They're
Yeah,
fucking.
I can't wait to see Blink on the casino boat out here.
Oh, they'll do a fucking. There will be a Blink 182, Blink 180 cruise, and it's gonna be fucking Blink 182, and then like a bunch of other pop punk bands.
Oh boy!
Like I don't even know.
Yeah,
like,
it's
like 90s pop punk bands, I guess. Maybe Sum 41 will be on there. Newfound Glory, like fucking Good Charlotte. But even that, I don't know because like, would they go back? I don't know who they'd pick. Would it be something like that? And it's like it's not gonna. Which I guess it already has because like Blink already, those dudes are closer to 50 than they are 20, and it's like there's gonna come a time where it's like, yeah, that's not like the music for the. Actually, it already has, and I think we've talked about that. But like, it's not music for the youth anymore. It's like there was a time where you associated with that, but it's like, you know, I mean, fucking, they're a lot older now. They're not like young fucking kids.
Yeah, which I'm starting to really see that now because I posted about this actually online yesterday or 2 days ago that I have a coworker who has never heard of Blink-182 and he's like 21 years old.
I gave that a sad emotion on Facebook, the little fucking emoticon thing. I gave that a sad face.
It was
made me
so
sad.
weird because I've heard of, you know, kids, quote unquote, where it's like, oh yeah, I've never heard of Blink-182, but they're like, you know, young kids. They're like in their teens still, you know, like it makes some sense to me, you know. Can
I say something about that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
More than likely, they don't know Blink by name, but I can almost 100% guarantee you they have heard Blink.
Well, and that's what I was about to get at with this, was like the thing that really tripped me out was like I brought them up as a joke because I was like, oh yeah, you know, there's young kids that don't know like my favorite band, and like that's how I know I'm getting old. And I look over at the kid and I'm like, hey, or guy, I should say, he's 21 technically, and I'm like, hey, do you know Blink-182? He goes, nope. I'm like, wow, I am getting old. How do you not? And like, just like in passing, I'm like, how do you not know all the small things? What's my age again? Or like, I fell in love with the girl at the rock show. And like, he just stared at me and like shook his head like, I don't. I'm like, whoa.
What the fuck?
And that's, yeah. And like, the only thing I can really attribute it to, because yeah, it's, you know, those songs are kind of like, and this is going to be a terrible, like, you know, put them in the same, it's terrible to put these artists in the same ship, but it's like, you know, if I told, you know, my mom, like, this is something I do know, but it'd be like, you know, hey mom, you know, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, what is that? You know, that's not a great analogy, but I'm just saying, like,
I think I get what you're saying. Everyone knows. Everyone knows that fucking song. Like, you didn't have to be alive in the 80s to know Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, exactly. I was born in like 88, and the only reason, I shouldn't say the only, but the main reason why I know that song at all is really because of Wayne's World. And like, granted, you know, I don't really hear all the small things or what's my age again in modern movies these days, but they're all over the radios, you know, still.
Yeah, you still hear those songs. Like, even just walking through a store, you'll hear a Blink song.
And the fact that like, he gave me that look and just like, no, I really don't know these songs. I'm like, wow, this is a trip. And like I was going to get at, the only thing I can attribute it to would be like his parents probably just listened to something else, and he just never was exposed to it. And granted, you know, if he's 21, his parents are probably, I would assume, probably in their early 40s, maybe, you know, roughly. Who knows?
Yeah, which they would have been the fucking heyday. It would have been, you know, you'd have thought, that's a good fucking point.
Yeah, and maybe they listened to Nelly or listened to...
Who the fuck didn't?
Limp Bizkit or whatever. I don't know. And maybe they just didn't play that music around the house. And especially as they got older, you know, yeah, they'll have nostalgia trips, but then they find like artists that they would rather listen to, you know, whatever that may be, you know, top 40 stuff or who knows.
Yeah.
And it was just an interesting trip to like really kind of find someone that's not technically close to my age, but in their 20s at least, and like not knowing who my favorite artist is, that's relatively popular, especially back in the day. And I'm like, wow, like the scene or just music like has evolved to the point where like no one's gonna know really about Blink. Like there's gonna be people that have no idea about Blink-182, and that's gonna be a thing, and they might just be a band that will be only old people will know them in like, you know, however many years.
I'm interested to see what their legacy will be, because the thing is, though, what I will say, though, in their defense, is bands a lot of times people forget that even bands who have like big, that people think are legends or huge, like there are timeless bands, still have lulls in their careers. So it's like, I'll be interested to see if Blink, because I could see it go both ways. I could see them go like you're saying, where it's like only people of a certain age listen to them. It's old people shit. But they could become a thing where like, where like the Doors are still, and I don't know, maybe I'm fucking old now, but it's like there seems to be times where like, there's still like cool like stoner teens or whatever who will still get into the Doors and like shit like that.
The Grateful Dead, like,
yeah,
they're
Grateful
still
Dead,
like pumping out fans somehow.
Yeah, like shit like that where you go, maybe there was a lull, maybe there was a time where people, kind of forgot about them, but for whatever reason later generations end up, they become timeless. Like it will be interesting to see that, because I mean,
the way I've kind of pictured it, like after he said that to me, I'm like, wow, like if they disappear, they disappear, or they'll still have a legacy like forever. The one thing that popped up in my head was kind of like, okay, everyone knows, like still to this day, kind of like we were talking about with Grateful Dead, everyone knows Metallica still, like almost of all ages for the most part.
Oh yeah,
it seems like. And then there's like, the other big four, bands, there was like Slayer, and
Megadeth.
Anthrax, and Megadeth. Yeah. And like people still know those names.
Yeah. Not as much as Metallica.
Not near as much as Metallica, because they just seem to hit that mainstream a little bit more.
Metallica also like even just t-shirts and shit. You'll see like in pop culture, like huge people just wearing, I don't even know if they listen to Metallica, but like they just wear fucking Metallica shirts. Like you still see them everywhere. They're part of pop culture.
And the way I kind of equal it to this, it's like Green Day. Everyone kind of knows Green Day pretty much. And Green Day, everyone's going to probably always know like Basket Case or, Wake Me Up When September Ends or American Idiot. Like those songs are kind of timeless now.
Well, here's an example of that, what I was saying earlier. People, we think that now, and I think you're right, they are at this point. People will always kind of have a spot. But we may not have had that same take during like their Warning era. Like that's an example of like bands who have legendary statuses, like you'll go through ups and downs where like no one gives a fuck about you for a while besides your fans, then people love you again, and that happens. Like Green Day now I think has had enough success where they'll always, I think they're pretty secure now, but it's like, bands kind of have those like ups and downs.
Yeah, so I see Blink as almost kind of like the other big four bands, like the Anthraxes and the Megadeth.
Of like pop punk?
Stuff like that. Of pop punk, where like,
who else
there'll still be a lot of people, like if there was a pop punk big four.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never thought of that, but like, sorry to get you sidetracked. Sorry, I know you're going. If you want, go back to what you were saying. I'm sorry. I realize I'm sidetracking you.
No, but that's a fun debate topic. Who would be on the Mount Rushmore of pop punk?
Should we save that and do that with like Zach? Should that be like a three of us fight each other?
Oh boy. Oh god.
That's a future episode. We're not going down this because that's a future episode. I swear to God, that's going to be a future episode.
Yeah, but I will say, right now in my head, even though they're my favorite band, Blink may turn into like the other part of like the other big four as far as like the speed metal bands go. Well, like, people will remember them, but not as they'll probably will be less memory of Blink than there would be of Green Day.
Yeah, you know what? Crazy to think, but I think you may be right about that.
Yeah. And
which is
thinking
interesting
about it now.
Well, what's kind of interesting about...
say,
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
All I was going to say is that if we did do a Mount Rushmore, I think probably the three of us would all agree that Green Day and Blink would be at least the two of the four bands.
To be honest, the debate would be on the other two because you're 100. There's
Yeah.
no way Blink and Green Day aren't on all of ours. Like, and actually,
Yeah.
most people have to, because even if you don't like, even if you're a purist and you go, "Oh, I don't like," if we're just talking terms of like success and people knowing them, you can't not have them on there. Like, you'd be so fucking dumb not to.
Yeah, but I want to save that. But yes, they might be still remembered, but not as well as Green Day's legacy.
And I think, I think you have a point there. But what I was going to say too is the funny thing about that is this is as Blink tries to make a commercial sound. Like, Blink's trying to become more and more mainstream friendly as they kind of, and I don't know, fade into obscurity. I mean, I don't know if that's too harsh or not, but like, as they aren't, as they're no longer the biggest band as maybe they once were, it's like, it is kind of interesting to see that because they're trying to be bigger than they were. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting to see that. Where Green Day, honestly, I think Green Day writes records for themselves at this point. Like, I get the feeling that Green Day doesn't give a fuck. Like, I think they want to write. I know people don't like a lot of the more recent records, and I think there's a couple good songs on the last few releases, but they're not my cup of tea either. But I think that's what they want to write because, to be honest, the smarter thing for Green Day, if they want to do that, would just fucking write something that's a rehash of, like, American Idiot or something. Like, if they really wanted to make money or get a lot of, like, radio play, they'd just shit out some of their other stuff. So it's like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, even though it's maybe not the best version of Green Day, I truly think that's what Green Day wants to do right now.
Yeah, but you got to remember, they also, in my opinion, they had a lull with Warning and American Idiot where they were trying to keep those fans. They were trying to keep fans. They were trying to do something marketable. And Warning obviously wasn't really marketable. They had some good songs on there, but they didn't fly. And then American Idiot came out and they got that resurgence, but it was very much on the wings of, like, the political landscape at the time, but also like they put something out that I feel like they knew they were going to fucking bank on. And
you think they knew they were going to get big on American Idiot?
I think so. Like, I could be totally wrong, but it feels,
really? See, I don't agree
opinion,
with that.
like, and that's great. Again, also, I stopped listening to Green Day once American Idiot came out. Like, I heard that and I thought it was a trash album, which is a very controversial opinion, I know. But
no,
it just
seemed like
it seemed like a cash grab. And like Blink right now, I think they've like kind of passed their cash grab days. I think they're kind of in that, like what you said for Green Day, that they're just kind of writing music for themselves. And I think Blink's kind of doing that. They're just kind of writing whatever because they're not really appealing to the pop punk community like everyone wants them to. Like, I think they're just kind of writing music that just happens to sound commercial.
See, you do think that's like, you think that's what like Mark and Travis and them want to write like you think that's natural, like that's what they want Blink to sound like.
Yeah, I think they know that the legacy of Blink is pretty much set in stone as far as like what their big song. They're never going to have a song bigger than what they've already had. And I would assume they probably know that. And I think they're just trying to just write songs that they want to write, have different sounds and do things that are weird and, mildly commercial and poppy. And I think they're just kind of at that point where they just kind of want to do what they want. And it just happens to sound like something that most people don't.
That's very interesting to me because I think it's the opposite, where I got the feeling that that Mark didn't, like, I kind of get the vibe where I thought that was part of the difference between Mark and Tom, where I feel like Tom looked at them more of a legacy band, and I feel like Mark wanted to maybe, actually, I don't know if that's entirely true in the sense of that. I think he wanted to rely on the legacy in a way, but I also think that he was still trying to write songs that were radio friendly that would be as big as those old ones. Like, like relying on the legacy of the old shit, but still trying to write songs as big as that, which again, I mean, it's both of our opinions. It's whatever. No one's really right or wrong. obviously I'm right, but but you know, sorry, I like lost my train of thought there for a second. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of get the vibe that it's because I feel like it would be more of, I would get the vibe where if they just wrote a fucking punk record that was just really, had they just written, like, say California, the rest of it sounded more like the first three songs, which, and to be honest, those songs have a lot of those elements where, I mean, I think Bored to Death is one where I think they were trying to very much write it. That's why I think there's why it sounds like the beginning of Feeling This, why it has the classic Blink chord progression in the chorus. I mean, even the guitar has a very kind of, you know, it's not Tom, but it's a Tom-like lead in my opinion. Which you know what? Let me ask you this: when Matt joined Blink, I remember him saying he has a different style than Tom, and I really don't know that I agree with that. I thought they had fairly similar styles. Like, what do you think they have similar styles, or do you think they were different? I didn't think they were that different. I kind of disagreed with him with that. I thought it was fairly similar.
No, so like I personally can easily see where Skiba is coming from, because, you know, yes, both of their genres are rooted in punk rock, and punk rock is relatively simple music, relatively fast music, and, you know, there's not a whole lot of ultra uniqueness in the genre, especially at the times that they were out and like big, you know, for their worlds. But like Skiba's, like, I'm sure you've probably recently have probably gotten your fair share of Alkaline Trio in you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so many of Matt's songs rely on like just three chords. And when he like the way Matt plays, like, it's always like either riff, like, you know, power chords, or it's like power chord to octave riffs, where Tom was very much like power chords and like octaves. They don't really kind of bounce back and forth from one another. It's not like power chord, octave riff, power chord, octave riff for like a verse. Where Skiba definitely does that, where he'll throw octave riffs in his verses randomly, where Tom will normally either stick to one or the other, not really putting, you know, those two, unless it's like a layered guitar on like in the studio. But normally it's just, if he's hitting power chords specifically, it's just power chords.
Yeah.
Or
fair enough.
And then also like it's kind of apples and oranges for some people, but like their strumming and picking patterns are way different. Like Tom still like utilized a lot of like for like the early stuff, utilized a lot of downstroking, and yeah, he would go to the normal like up and down, you know, strumming pattern, but like Matt, it always seemed like he was almost always in an up and down pattern, which sounds completely different. If you play the same riff with just downstrokes that you would with a normal picking style, there's a different bite to the riff, and Tom was very much more like punk rock in like the downstrokey stuff, where I felt like Matt was, in my opinion, more mildly not experimental, but kind of like he would stick to just like, you know, power chords, octave riffs, but like an up and down pattern, not a lot of downstroking.
I think Tom relies on definitely, including back in the day, downstroking to a fault, where like I think he almost fell into, and I know this from friends who, like, I've always alternated on guitar and I'll downstroke, but like in the beginning I learned to alternate because I have friends who taught themselves to downstroke in the beginning, and they would fuck up alternating. Like, as funny as that sounds, they couldn't alternate anymore. Like, it was all downstrokes. And I almost feel like Tom is one of those guys where I think he did, because in the beginning you want to be the fast punk. I think a lot of it starts with that. You want to be the fast punk rock guy and you want to play all fast downstrokes and maybe muted and shit. But then if
that's how I was.
Now let me ask you, did that fuck you up with alternating? Did you ever have trouble when it came to alternating? Because I know a lot of people who it fucks them up with that, and I think it hurts it, because there's Tom DeLonge riffs where really it would probably sound better if he alternated more, and he doesn't. He only really downstrokes.
Yeah, I will say, even to this day, like, I was playing guitar before this, just playing like basic stuff, and like every once in a while I catch myself like fucking up a basic like riff pattern on a basic strumming pattern, and then I'll like downstroke it and like I nearly hit it flawlessly, and it's almost embarrassing because like you would think like just going up and down should just be easier, but sometimes it fucks me up, and it's weird to say that. And most of the songs that my bands have written are in just like a normal strumming pattern, which is fine. And I played those songs enough where like repetition can just make it sound fine. But there's definite times where like, I'm like, screw this, I'm just going to play the whole set downstroke.
See,
and it hurts. It fucking hurts to do that.
And
I did it, and I loved it. Yeah, and I loved it, but it definitely, it sounds different. It feels different.
Oh, there's a total different vibe, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. It's like imagine listening to like certain ska riffs that weren't upstrokes, and they were like
that's a good example. It fucking changes it. It changes the whole thing.
Yeah,
it really does. Like it really has a huge impact on it.
Yeah.
Play us a riff, dude.
E.
No, play Eminem's right now.
Oh God. You didn't mess with that.
Oh shit! You know what? I don't know if this is a compliment or not to Tom, but that actually, for you just doing that as a joke, that wasn't that far off. I think you were 70% there.
I mean, I used to know how to play it. It's just been a long time, so I was just like, I think it's here, right?
You know what I like about that riff? To give him some credit, it's really, I can't remember how to play it. I learned it at some point, and there's not a lot to it. It's just a lot of pull-offs, but he makes it sound more complicated than it is. Like, it's a pretty simple like riff to play, but it sounds like he's doing more than he is. Yeah. It's a good fucking song. Well, as I don't know. I mean, we've been at this a while. I mean, if we got other topics, we can get into them though. But one I was going to talk about, and you alluded to it to a second, but I think we can get into it a little, because I got to say I guess it'll be last night as we're recording this. I guess not when people are listening to the podcast. But I played I Want to Be a Warhol on the radio show this week, and I did say, we hadn't recorded it yet, but I did say that sometime in the future, me, you, and Zach doing a top 5 Alkaline Trio songs. So, I mean, by no means are we giving away our top 5 now. We're not talking about that. But how is your quest for getting your top 5 going? Because for me, it's been pretty fucking difficult.
This is actually, I think, a little bit more difficult than the Blink one.
No, a lot more difficult, I would say.
I got my first 3 like pretty much dialed in. Whoa. Oh man. You do not drink the bong water. Kidding.
No, Jesus.
You shouldn't though.
So, well, no, that is a good PSA actually. That's a good PSA for kids. Never drink bong water. I mean, who knows how many lies we just say, or not even say, but like how many just sour faces that weren't made because of your PSA. No, I just had to mute my mic because I just was fucking choking. My dumb ass decided I really try not to drink water during this because I know it makes noises, and it really does when it goes down the wrong pipe. And I cough while you're trying to make a point. So I'm sorry for rudely choking to death while you were trying to talk.
No, but yeah, no, like I got my top 3 dialed in pretty well, but I am having a horrendous time trying to get my last 2 on this list. And like, I keep floating between like 6 songs that I'm just like, yep, this is it. Oh, nope, this one's it. Oh, but this one's it too. And like, I might have to, like, with the Blink one, like, it came together relatively easily, but there were just a lot of songs that I'm like, man, I love this song. Man, I love this song. But
a lot of honorable mentions.
Yeah, I don't think I have as many honorable mentions, but just rounding out a top 5 was probably tougher, where at least with this top 5, it's more, at least the 3 are like top 3 for sure. Where like my Blink one, I can probably give you a different list tomorrow, but it would be for like different reasons on like why I'm feeling like this is my favorite Blink song right now. Or at least with Trio, I know I have 3 for sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you in that sense. At first when you said it was easy, I disagreed, but in the sense that maybe my top 2, like right away, my couple favorites, like that I know 100% like came to mind. But overall, like right now, I'm at like a top 10, and it's really fucking hard to cut out 5 of them because because then it's also hard because the other thing that I don't know if you do this, but sometimes I'll take a song, and yes, it's a good song, but maybe I think it's a really good album opener or album closer, and I'll give it more credit than I will another song just because of its placement. It kind of, you know what, to be honest, it's the opposite of when a song is in a bad place, where like how I hate Enjoy Your Day, there's songs where I really like Fine because Fine is like at the end of the album. So I go like, I really like that song, but I also really like it because it's an album closer. So sometimes I go, am I giving this song too much credit because of, its placement? And I have been doing that. And yeah, I'm having trouble. I got to whittle down like probably at least 5 more songs. But I'm trying to be diverse with my list because I try not to have them all. I don't want too many songs on one album. But you know what though? Then I feel like that's dishonorable too, because if those are truly your favorite songs, you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know that that's really, it's not, you know what I mean? Because like From Here to Infirmary is my favorite Alkaline Trio album, but but I'd be an asshole if I said if all top 5 were from that, because they have great songs before and after that are much better. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's my favorite album, that doesn't mean I think every song on that is better than albums off other, songs off other albums.
Yeah. And I think I brought that up in like the initial text message thread about it, where like, I don't want to make a top 5 From Here to Infirmary because I can easily do that.
That's what I would do too. And that's what both of our lists would be. Yeah.
So I did not research really. That's a bad way to say it, but I just, I just listened to a lot of Trio, and I made sure to not just listen to albums straight through because I didn't want to have kind of like what your problem is of like, oh, great album opener, great, closer or whatever. Yeah. I just put everything on shuffle and just let it ride out.
That's a good idea.
Because then I just kind of forget like where the song placement is, because now I'm just listening to the songs at random. So maybe the song standalone, a song standalone maybe isn't as good by itself, but it's a great way to start a record. But if it's just like in the middle of a mix,
that's a great fucking point, honestly, because you're right. There is no standing on, wow, this is how it opens or closes or something like that, because putting it on shuffle a lot of times doesn't sequence well. So those songs don't go into each other very well, so they got to stand by themselves. So that's a great way to do it. You know what? I'm going to have to rip you off, and I think I'm going to have to listen. I'm going to have to put them on shuffle and listen to them and do it that way and kind of reevaluate some shit, because that's a really fucking kudos to you. That's a good idea.
And it's funny because I was actually having and this will actually come back to a story I mentioned. I was having an internal debate about one particular song, putting it on the list, mainly just because I have such an interesting story with it that it's almost hard for me to keep it off my list, but I might. But the reason why I might be coming back around to a story is because that song had a big reason for why I had a story about that Born of Osiris band.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So like, I could almost, if I wanted to, I can put it in my top 5 and add that story to the episode, like, you know, that we'll do eventually.
Yeah.
Or I leave it off and, you know, I can tell you the story when we're all said and done on this. So I'm kind of having a bit of an internal debate because
Well, actually, you could still tell it on that episode, even if you don't, because if it's an interesting story, you could still bring it up with honorable mentions.
Yeah, I might. I'll say, oh, man, you know what?
Don't give your shit away, dude. Don't give too much away.
No, because here's the thing. It's a good song, but I think the reason why I like it is because of the story and how ridiculous it is. And the only other thing about the song is that, like, I've never applied them to anything, but I've written a lot of guitar riffs based off of this one riff by that song. So I'll just tell you it now because I'm going to leave it off because I think it's more of the story about the song than it is like the song itself.
What is it? And
it's kind of a hit and people like it. It's whatever. It's Radio.
That's what I thought it was going to be. Cause when you said guitar like line or guitar riff, like that's, I feel like one of his most memorable or like that's like one of his calling cards, I would say, for like most memorable riffs.
Yeah. And I've written so many things based off of just that, like, you know, that open D note, that open D string, and then just playing on the G.
Yeah.
G. Yeah. Wow. I can't believe I had to think about that for a second. But yeah. So like I have so many riffs that started with Radio, but that story, I'll just say it real quick without all the detail, but we were at a friend's house many, many ages ago for their birthday. And the band Born of Osiris at the time, they were called something else because they were very young and they weren't big by any means. They show up at the house and we got like kind of like hardcore kids and then like pop punk kids blending, and we didn't really mesh well. And they as a band were saying some really bad shit to a friend of mine about kind of what they were going to do to his girlfriend after he left.
What fucking assholes.
Yeah, not even kidding. And so like I'm sitting there playing Radio for this girl, you know, trying to win her over because I thought she was amazing. A fight breaks out. Someone's face gets kicked in, like stomped in.
Oh shit!
And then there was a knife that got, you know, like taken out, and kind of calmed everything down. And then we went our separate ways. But when the band Born of Osiris like became a thing, and I was like, wait a minute, all of those names. Are those the guys from this band like a few years back? And like, yeah. And that's their drummer, same guy. I'm like, no shit.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And I remember playing guitar for the girl, playing Radio, just trying to get it right and like serenade her kind of. And the guy comes up with his hand covering his face, like collecting the pool of blood, and starts talking to her, kind of hitting on her. And a drop of blood falls on my arm. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? And he like comes around and like wipes it off and like grabs some soap and like cleans my arm off. I'm like, dude, we gotta go. This is ridiculous.
I gotta be honest. There's nothing sweeter than trying to serenade a girl with a song that's opening line is shaking like a dog shitting razor blades.
Oh, I wasn't singing it. I knew by saying it, you know, I was just trying to.
It gets a lot less romantic when you sing the lines. I wish you'd take my radio to bathe with you. Fucking, I wish you'd take a plugged in a fucking electrical appliance in the bath with you. Now that song is a testament. This is why I think it's bullshit. Why all those lyrics are so weak on New Blink shit. He's such a good lyricist. Do you know how easy it would be for that song to be cheesy? Like, honestly, that song, by all accounts, should be cheesy as shit. Those lyrics should not work. yet they're amazing. He conveys them. Like they really, I mean, there's a reason that's one of their biggest songs. Like there's a reason it's so beloved and it deserves to be like one of their biggest songs. And it's like, but if you have someone else doing it, and I've heard other people, I'm not even the first one saying this, because another one is Madam Me. It's like it'd be so easy to make that song be cheesy with like the knee deep in shit and like that, those like lines, like you could so easily just have that sound so bad. But it's like not with Skiba. Yeah. He conveys it so well that it's like, holy shit, this song's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so with that, like it'll be interesting to see like what everyone's top 5 would be. And I would actually like to at least, and I think I said in the text messages, like we can send each other the list beforehand, but maybe just put the songs out of order just in case I feel like we're going to have similars. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like between you, me, and Zach, we're going to have a couple copies.
You know what I think, to be honest? I think me and you are going to have copies. I think his is going to be different because, honestly, Zach, I think, is more later era Alkaline Trio. Like, maybe, his favorite album is, like, Good Morning. So it's like, I see me and you. Now, this is just assumptions here. But I think me and you are going to be more heavy on the first, like, 4 records. He's going to be more... Me and you are going to be more heavy pre-Good Morning. He's going to be more heavy Good Morning and on. That's how I see it being. I could be 100% wrong, but that's what I see. I see me and you having more overlaps.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That's my prediction.
It'll be interesting to see for sure. It'll be interesting to see for sure.
It will be. I think it'll be a fun episode. We're going to do that sometime soon. And now we have to because we look like assholes if if we don't. We'll look like some real assholes. I don't know, man. I mean, do we have I mean, this has been fun. It's really, this is what I like. Me and you can just kind of go down. I don't even know where we started. Something about MySpace.
Yep.
And you know what? I do want to say this, and it comes back around to that. And I mean, if you have anything else you want to talk about, I'm not trying to silence your ass. But something I did write down that I didn't get to talk about earlier. You brought it up, but the difference about why music was so much better discovering it. I feel like on MySpace, you went to MySpace and discovered bands. By the time you got to Twitter, you went to Twitter and talked about bands that you already found. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I discovered bands on Twitter. I went on Twitter to talk about bands. MySpace, I discovered music. For the exception of like I'd have people who will send me things. Like I always say it, like funny enough, like JT, the singer of Hawthorne Heights, like way back in the day, like on Twitter, he would constantly send me shit to listen to. He'd be like, you got to go. He got me into so many bands. And like, but that also came from like hitting him up and being like, dude, when I go to this city, what record store should I go to? So it's like in that way, yes, I learned that, but it's like, that doesn't even count because it's not, you know what I mean? Like he also told me those bands when I saw him in person or like, there'd be other ways of telling me that. Whereas MySpace, you would go on there and you'd fucking discover music. Like you'd find a band and shit. You really don't. Because now if you discovered a band on say Facebook, you probably have to go listen to them somewhere else. You might see like a picture of them in their page, but you're going to have to go to YouTube or Bandcamp or Spotify or something to actually hear them. And then I lose interest. If I have to click a fucking link tree on your social media and then go through a whole thing and then open the fucking, like, it shouldn't take 10 minutes to listen to your song. It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah. It's funny, like, part of the reason why I even jumped on Twitter was to, follow Mark Hoppus.
That's the whole reason. That's literally the reason I started.
That's A. Because I heard Mark Hoppus was on Twitter and he was posting a lot of funny statements. I'm like, oh, this is great. I got to be on Twitter. But also, like you said, like to talk about music and just like, stuff like that. So like alongside of posting funny stuff, like trying to be like Mark, I wanted to talk about bands and like talk about the bands that I liked to the point where very early, like within a year of being on Twitter, like just for funsies, I did back when, what was it, 120 characters, 140 characters?
I think
Yeah,
120.
I did two of these. Did two full album reviews on Newfound Glory's Not Without a Fight.
Nice. Good album.
And I did a band called Farewell, an album called Run It Up the Flagpole.
I've never heard that.
And
band.
It's funny, they were actually both on Epitaph. But I would do full album reviews with the song title, what track number it was, and then whatever else I can fill out, the characters, all on Twitter.
Jesus.
And it was only just one tweet per song. So it wasn't like part one of 3 tweets on one song. And I was like, this is going to be it. This is what I'm going to do. To the point where, oddly enough, both those bands were on Epitaph. I got a DM from Epitaph saying like, hey, would you want to review like this, and this album?
Oh, fuck.
And I didn't reply because they were not bands I listened to.
I like that. Dude, that is not Joser shit. That is fucking cred. I give you respect for that. You knew it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fucking fair.
It actually would almost kind of be fair because at least I'm not biased.
Well, no, not if you knew you didn't like them, though. Because you have to.
But yeah,
there's some degree when you do that. Like, yes, you could give it a bad review, but they're sending you shit. Are you really going to, like, tear the band a new asshole or be completely honest if you absolutely hate it? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be a little hesitant.
Mm-hmm, yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was like the wildest thing that like, because of like my little like, I'm going to do this on Twitter and it's going to be fun, almost potentially turned into maybe a thing. Like by now, like, oh yeah, Kyle Trevino, he's whatever doing, you know, this on Epitaph Records. He's a talent scout or something. Like, who knows what could have been. But yeah, that's one of my favorite little stories about like bands, social media, and just how like things kind of happen because I wanted to talk about music.
Twitter was fun. Twitter used to be fun for that kind of shit. It's kind of fallen off in more recent years. Like, I don't really use it like I once did, but there was a time where, again, you didn't really discover music on it, but you'd go on there and like talk about drive-through records with a bunch of people, like things like that. Where like you just go find people who like the same kind of like early 2000s pop punk and just make friends. I mean, I've made so many friends through Twitter, like not just you, and even just in Illinois. Like I've made so many friends just even in Illinois through Twitter and like other places too, where it's just like, it's insane, but that's what it would be. It'd just be like-minded people. I don't even know how we found each other. Me and Zach met on Twitter too, and it's been so fucking long now. I mean, you're talking like 2013, like 8 years ago. It's like, I don't recall how we ever, like, I don't know. We found each other through retweets or like through follow Fridays maybe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Because like the only thing I really remember is that I think we had a mutual follow with the Boy and His Machine, or like the drummer Ryan.
That sounds right.
And then I remember when you changed your handle to the whole like what it is now, the whole whatever. Yeah. And like I remember sitting there seeing that. I'm like, this dude's hysterical.
Well, thank you.
Like you just put all the things that just like happened into like one Twitter handle. And it was like, when I saw him, like, this guy's such a dick. It's fucking funny, and I love it.
See, that's what I mean. It's so funny because Twitter's kind of became a thing where, like, journalists use it, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's become a thing. This goes back to everyone getting on the internet. Like, it was like in the beginning of Twitter was just for you to talk about two things: dick jokes and pop punk. Like, that's all you did. Like, you get on there, tell terrible dick jokes, and just talk about like drive-through records. Like, that's all. You just alternate. I mean, one or the other. Like, that's all it was. So it's always like I'm always that way with social media, where sometimes I go, I think people take it too seriously, because I'm like, I rooted in finding music on Myspace and going on Twitter and talking about music and making dick jokes. I'm like, it's like the farthest from the serious thing. Like, I've never thought of it as a thing to go put like my true, I guess, feelings or like anything really big on, because I'm just like, I feel like it was just made for just being a shithead. But maybe that's just me.
I mean, like, the internet gave everyone a voice, whether we wanted to or not.
Which people did say that in the beginning with Twitter, where it's like, this could be bad. And they're
Oh,
right.
yeah. And, like, yeah, exactly. Like, the internet just exploded. Social media gave everyone an outlet, and then everyone an opinion, and everyone a space to argue. But, like, at first, like, when I was experiencing it, like, MySpace was just about, like, listening to music and, like, chatting with your friends. Twitter was making jokes and talking about music. Like, my follow list was so, like, on that, like, path. So, like, I was kind of, like, distant from, like, political posts, because those weren't really a thing yet. Or, like, journalists that would, or, like, TMZ, like, happily I was not seeing that stuff, because that's not what I wanted to see. But as it started coming up, it was just like, you'd see a million retweets on this thing, or like a sponsored ad, or like a stupid clickbait link of like top 8 reasons why you're not getting laid or something. You know, it was just like stupid.
That was the beginning of the end with that shit. I do remember that shit started popping up.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh man, like, this isn't what I like. Obviously, this isn't what I signed up for, and like, obviously, I can't get what I want. That's, you know, that's not how the internet works. But like, there was a time where like our social circles were very tight with what we wanted to be involved with, and we didn't really have a lot of outside interference when it came to like other types of profiles or different types of accounts that, you know, posted different things. Like now it's just like, it's oversaturated with, you just see everything from everyone, and it's kind of like,
it's too much.
Like you said, it took the fun away from it.
Yeah, it really did. And the other thing too is just, there's too much to post on. Because again, what I kind of talked about for a second, but was going to go down more that road. I won't go too far because we'll start closing this up. But like, part of why I liked, when I was saying the instant messaging in MySpace days, was it was exactly that. It wasn't YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, and all this bullshit. It was all basically like one or two like personally talk to people on AIM, and then just fucking talk to people on MySpace. I mean, you could send messages on there too, but like, that was it. There wasn't 5 different social medias. You had one fucking place. It was all in one place.
Yeah, and even like, now it's like, sometimes like, it doesn't happen often anymore, thank God, but like, sometimes I'll be in like a text message conversation with someone, and then they'll just like, you know, they'll send me like a snap, you know, of something, and they'll send it to everyone, but it's not like on their story or whatever. And then like, I'll respond to it, I'm like, ha 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 ha. And then all of a sudden I'm having 2 separate, like completely different separate conversations with the same person on 2 different platforms. And
I hate that shit.
It's so weird. It's like, I can be arguing with them in one, and then like making jokes, but like having to change my mood depending on like what message I see from which account. It's like, haha, this is super funny, blah, 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 fart, poop, whatever. And then like, that dude is a fucking asshole, don't trust him, blah, blah, blah. Oh, farts, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, it's so weird. And like, it even happened on like Tinder, where someone messaged me being like, hey, message me, like swipe right on me so we can talk on Tinder. I'm like, we already talk on Snapchat. Like, what's up? They're like, oh, I just want to talk to you there too. I'm like, no.
No, now I'm 100% with you with this, and it annoys me even more if you have that person's number. Like, if you know that person's number and it's just text worthy, I don't, and like every now and then, like, I get it. Like I'm sure I've done it with you, where maybe we're texting and then maybe I'll read something, I'll reply to you on something. Like, that shit might happen, but like, I have people who will like text you 1 minute, then send you a fucking Facebook message a couple hours later, then share something with you on Instagram, and it's like, dude, like, it's too much. Like, and you like, just text me. If it's that important, text it to me. And if it's not important enough to text me, just don't fucking send it to me. I don't like this fucking going through all these fucking things to find it all. Like, just message on one thing. That's it.
Yeah. It's
I'm an old fucking man.
There's a whole lot of nothing happening on social media.
Oh, that's extremely true. I don't honestly. Doing the radio show was what made me basically do anything but Twitter. Like when I started doing the radio show in 2016, I started using like Instagram and Facebook mostly to promote that. And I mean, really in the beginning to friends and family, because that was even before I had like Power Chord Hour social media, but just even doing social media that wasn't Twitter, I really only started doing I started doing other things too, but the whole reason I would start using like my Facebook account and shit was to be like, hey, listen to me Friday nights and stuff. Like I never used it before that. Like a lot of reason I use social media is because you kind of have to. Because really, I'm like that. Where really, if I had my way, it would all be on just Instagram. Like I wouldn't have to worry about Twitter or Facebook or any of that. But I do, at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and YouTube, and all those places. That's not a shameless plug. Well, it is, but
no, it's not.
it's full of pride. That was a prideful plug.
There you go.
You hear about shameful plugs. No one talks about prideful plugs. I say this with pride.
Yeah.
Go fucking follow us. But like, I have fun doing Instagram for the most part. But like, I have fun talking to people on social media. But I'm very much like, I wish everyone was just on one. Like, everyone was just on one fucking page, and I just communicate there. Because, again, I get anxiety with that. When I look at my phone, you have all these different, like, badge things on all the different apps. I don't like that. I'm like, it feels overwhelming. So then you're like, I have too many. I'd rather it was all in just one fucking place.
Dude, even like back in the day when it was MySpace, like there was people that had like live journals and like Zyngas, but like everyone had a MySpace. Neither did I, but like I knew plenty of people that did.
No, you're right.
But they always had the MySpace. Like MySpace was always like, if it wasn't MySpace, it was AIM. Those were the two best ways to keep in contact with someone. And like live journal and like Zynga were more like posting like personal stories and like blogs and stuff. But like, social media turned into just like the ultra like popularity contest to like now it's just like everyone needs to know what my opinion is, and if they don't care, they're wrong type thing. Like there's too many arguments happening on social media nowadays. Whereas back in the day,
it's the biggest fucking waste of time. I don't understand that. At all.
Yeah, like back in the day, like, yeah, there would be arguments on like MySpace or whatever, but like, there was way less people like
you didn't
wanting
see it as
to argue
often
about it.
You didn't.
Yeah,
I don't feel like you saw it as often. I really
No.
don't think you saw it like you do now.
Yeah, especially even on like band pages. Like I remember scrolling on like a band's like MySpace comments because they were like right there, and it would just be like, "Come to Chile, come to Brazil." Hey, saw you on tour. I saw your show last night. Cool. You never saw someone on there just like intentionally bashing them.
Yeah.
It was you never really saw that.
No, it was all
just,
pretty
like,
positive.
Everyone that was there. Yeah, everyone was there to like enjoy it. And if you didn't, you just didn't go on the page unless you were really trying to seek attention. But back then, that wasn't the case. You just saw everyone loving that artist or whoever, and it was a lot of love. And now it's just like nasty.
Yeah, I just have no like even that. There's no part of me like even if I disagree with something on social media, I have no desire to like start a fight in comments. Like again, I may see something that I disagree with, but I just kind of keep moving on. I just go like, okay, like I just don't get because that would bum me out if I sat there. That would just be negative all day. I would feel bad all day if all I did was fucking fight with people. And I know people who in real life are great and I like hanging out with. I got friends who like they just pop up on like different social media things and it's just like, oh, so and so keeps replying to comments and something. You look and it's like they're just fucking fighting with people, random people a lot of times in like news articles. And I'm just like, but they do it to a point where it's like a hobby. It's not like once or twice. It's a daily occurrence. I'm just like, I mean, isn't there a better hobby or something that like I mean, that shit's not good for you either. It's like, is that really
No.
healthy to be mad all the fucking time? Like, god damn. That's why I like going. I think people think I'm ignoring them sometimes when I just go in the fucking woods and have no reception and just don't give a fuck about whatever's going on in the world. It doesn't matter. I'm in the middle of the woods. It doesn't matter.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, brother.
You know. But I don't know. Do you have anything else as we close this up, or should we fucking say sayonara?
I mean, technically, we can really keep talking about everything, but that'll be for another episode.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we're about to hit hour 3 here, so
boy.
Yeah, we definitely will fucking close up. But I think this was a good, and you'll definitely hear this duo again. Next time you hear this duo, it's gonna be a fucking trio talking about the trio.
Ayo!
Motherfucker.
That was good.